Chapter 2282. Student Yi Qing Luo is also acquainted with the Lord of Heavenly Palace? Shun Qing leaned on Fatty's shoulder and asked curiously. What was this lass's background? Why did it seem that all her acquaintances were so amazing? Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Just met once. The day before yesterday, I was summoned by the Lord of Heavenly Palace to inquire about the current situation of the Heavenly Academy. To inquire about the current situation of the Heavenly Academy, would he specially look for a student who had just returned? When they were investigating Yi Qing Luo, naturally they had heard from the students of the Heavenly Academy about the day when Yi Qing Luo had just returned. The protector of Heavenly Palace had specially appeared at the Heavenly Academy early in the morning, specially waiting for Yi Qing Luo. Simply to inquire about the Heavenly Academy? The three masters expressed their disbelief. But since Yi Qing Luo didn't say anything, they naturally wouldn't probe further. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes and looked at the three masters, asking seriously, Are there any other masters in the class of gods? Fatty was stunned and shook his head. Other than the three of us and Bai Mei who had been removed from the position of master, there are no other masters in the class of gods. Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. It seemed that the person in the class of gods that the Lord of Heavenly Palace mentioned was not a master of the class of gods. But other than the masters of the class of gods, who else would know the precise location of the sacred beast pearl and how to use it? Suddenly Yi Qing Luo's mind quivered. No. At that time the Lord of Heavenly Palace said that what she wanted to know the students in the class of gods knew best. What he said was the word student. Student. Before Dmo Shen left he also said that he had a friend who was a student in the class of gods. After that he said something that she was still in a daze. It seemed to be related to this matter. Yi Qing Luo's eyes suddenly lit up and grabbed Teacher Yi's sleeve. Master, may I ask? Among the students in the class of gods, is there anyone who is familiar with Xian? The expressions of the three masters changed slightly. You want to ask about Sister Bai Mei? Listening to Yi Qing Luo calling the overlord Xian intimately, they also knew that the relationship between Yi Qing Luo and the overlord was far deeper than what they saw. Yi Qing Luo asked about this. She must have been irritated by Bai Mei's words last night. We've been in the God class for so long, but to be honest we've only seen Di Zun twice. Shin Qing chuckled. Although the Overlord's return is indeed related to Bai Mei's sister, you can rest assured that Bai Mei's sister is not a good match for the Overlord. Yi Qing Luo's mouth twitched. Did she look like someone who would get jealous and cause trouble for no reason? She was clearly asking about the students. Why did the teachers think of Bai Mei's sister? To be honest, she had never considered Bai Mei's elder sister as a rival in love. I'm not asking about Bai Mei's sister, I mean, the students from the class of gods. Yi Qing Luo tried to explain. But Fatty Master had already used his fat palm to pat her shoulder heavily. Student Yi Qing Luo, you can rest assured. The Overlord has been to the class of gods twice, including this time. Last time and this time he only met Bai Mei once, but you've seen his attitude towards Bai Mei, so... Yi Qing Luo was speechless. She really wasn't jealous. Nor did she take advantage of Dmo Shen's absence. She wanted to investigate Dmo Shen's past. Chapter 2283. Student Yi Qing Luo, if it's possible, we would like to bring you to Bai Mei's sister and ask her personally. Fatty Master sighed, but we are unable to climb up that mountain. Even Bai Mei can't. Yi Qing Luo face-bombed, expressing that she didn't want to ask any further. This group of masters were sure that she was jealous. She couldn't explain it clearly. What was there to say? Yi Qing Luo expressed that she was very angry, but she still had to maintain her smile and said to the masters, Masters, I have other matters to attend to, so I'll return to Devil class first. She turned around and dragged the Devil class students away. The Devil class students expressed their stupefaction and had yet to react. When the students had left the training ground, only the three masters were left. The expressions on their faces gradually became extremely grave. Master Yi looked at the direction where Yi Qing Luo left and sighed, Do you think she will believe us? No matter if she believes or not, just don't ask us. Shin Qing yawned lazily. Anyway, the person whom Yi Qing Luo is looking for will take the initiative to look for her, so we don't have to worry about this. Fatty Master nodded. Let's go. Everything has been arranged, let's go back to our room to rest. Some of the Devil class students returned to the class to clean themselves up and returned to the actual combat training forest. in case they couldn't report to the training ground tomorrow at 5 in the morning. As for Yiqing Luo, after changing her clothes, she headed towards the direction of the ancestral hall. Calculating the time, the director would be coming out from the ancestral hall tomorrow. These 2 days she hadn't had the time to settle the director's matter. She had no intention to let the director continue to stay in this position. Yiqing Luo was agile, her figure as fast as lightning. In just a moment she had already arrived near the ancestral hall. It was late at night and the ancestral hall was a restricted area. At this hour there wasn't any light in the surroundings. Yiqing Luo seemed to be able to see things in the dark, as she approached the ancestral hall accurately. The surroundings of the ancestral hall was surrounded by an enchantment. Perhaps Yiqing Luo had entered the Lord's room previously. These enchantments did not stop Yiqing Luo from entering. The last time in the small room where the director was facing the wall, she eavesdropped on the conversation between the director and Yun Xiang. She discovered this point. Just as he approached the hut, he heard the sound of people talking in a low voice. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly. They came at the right time. 3 joss sticks were lit in the small room of the dean's ancestral hall. Yiqing Luo leaned close to the window and through the flickering candlelight she could see the 2 people inside. The headmaster sat on a praying mat, looking extremely dispirited. His hair, which had always been neat and tidy, was now in a mess like a chicken nest. His usual clean and tidy robe hung loosely on his body. His face was filled with exhaustion. The candlelight was very close. Yiqing Luo could even clearly see the director's reddened eyes and the bruise at the corner of his eyes. It was obvious that he had been in the ancestral hall for almost 3 days. The dean didn't even close his eyes. Furthermore, his mental state was also very poor. It was as if he had suffered some kind of mental torture. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched in ridicule. In this eerie, terrifying, and lifeless ancestral hall, the dean had done so much that he had let down the Heavenly Academy and countless students. In this ancestral hall filled with the memorial tablets of the former dean, how was it possible for him to sleep peacefully? From the looks of it, the guilty things that the dean had done. Chapter 2284. Director President C. seems to have met with some trouble. Yun Xiang said in a low voice. President C? Was he talking about Si Yenmu? They were just talking about getting Si Yenmu to help him secure the position of director? Yiqing Luo didn't have time to think about it. The director had already opened his mouth, his voice was hoarse and full of hostility. He is the president of faculty council, high and mighty, even the elders have to give him face. What trouble could he possibly meet with? This tone, listening to it. Obviously there was some unhappiness with Si Yenmu. However, Yiqing Luo could roughly guess. Si Yenmu had a close relationship with a certain holy technique from the dark forces. It could be said that Si Yenmu's existence was. After the director's operation failed, he immediately took control of the Heavenly Academy. Now the dark forces were forced to return to the dark side. Moreover, most of the forces had been annihilated. The remaining were just some shrimp soldiers and crab generals. The director still wanted to make use of Si Yenmu and the dark forces to secure his position? How could the dark forces possibly waste their efforts on the director? Why would they take the risk of being discovered to help the director? Yun Xiang went to Si Yenmu to talk about this. It would only make the dark forces choose to give up on the director. As for the candidate for the next director, the dark forces would definitely let Si Yenmu take over. So, Si Yenmu naturally didn't care much about Yun Xiang's words. These few days, didn't that little slut Yiqing Luo bring the devil class students to the class of gods for special training? It seems like on the first day of the special training, something big happened and even the faculty council was alerted. Yun Xiang told the director about the news he had heard. Didn't Zi Qianxian have a cousin who is also a student in the class of gods? Under President Xi's intentional or unintentional retelling, that student knew that Yiqing Luo was the murderer who killed Zi Qianxian, so in the class of gods, she and Yiqing Luo were not on good terms. But you also know that Yiqing Luo, that slut, has too many backers. How could a student in the class of gods win against her? So she was personally brought to the faculty council by the master of the class of gods, saying that after you come out from your confinement, they will investigate this matter. The director's eyes suddenly froze. That student from the class of gods, does he hate Yiqing Luo to the core? Of course. When I was discussing this matter with President C, I heard that student insulting Yiqing Luo non-stop, as though he couldn't wait to cut Yiqing Luo into 1,000 pieces. Yun Xiang nodded continuously. Alright. Good job. Tomorrow the dean will be able to leave this damned place. At that time, a cold light flashed in the dean's eyes. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This student from the class of gods could be put to good use. But, Dean. Suddenly Yun Xiang squatted down. His old face under the candlelight was somewhat strange. The dean frowned. He had a bad feeling about this. Yun Xiang laughed softly. Dean, if you want to leave this damned place, you have to be alive to do so. As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Xiang's palm suddenly flipped and slammed down on the dean's chest. From the moment Yun Xiang squatted down, the dean had already felt that something was strange. When Yun Xiang attacked him, he reacted quickly and rolled on the ground. That palm brushed past his shoulder. A burst of intense pain as though his shoulder was torn apart. Chapter 2285. You. How dare you betray me? The dean's eyes were scarlet red and his face was sinister. Yun Xiang saw that he had failed and simply couldn't be bothered to continue pretending. He sneered and stood up. Dean? I'm afraid you don't know that from tomorrow onwards I will be the dean. You. The dean was so angry that his whole body was trembling and the wound on his shoulder was hurting badly. Jianghu, that bastard. He burned the bridge after crossing the river. How can this be considered as burning the bridge after crossing the river? It's just that you have lost your value. Yun Xiang sneered sarcastically. After he finished, he took a step forward and walked towards the dean. Dean, just accept your death obediently. Stop struggling. The more you struggle, it will only make yourself more painful. Bastard. The dean's face turned red as he retreated a few steps. Every movement, the wound on his shoulder became more and more tearing and the pain was unbearable. It could be seen that Yun Xiang's palm strike just now was completely determined to take his life. Yun Xiang laughed sinisterly, looking at the usually aloof and arrogant dean in front of him. Such a sorry figure filled with fear. In his heart, he couldn't be more pleased. From tomorrow onwards, everything that the dean had would belong to him. In future, he would be the dean of the Heavenly Academy. He was going to kill this dean. Yun Xiang waved his palm again and the force was extremely sharp. The dean was sweating profusely from the pain and kept sucking in cold air. He turned sideways and somersaulted backwards to avoid that palm strike. A loud bang sound was heard. The memorial tablets were overturned by the palm strike. The candlelight also fell to the ground. The small house was suddenly pitch black. Faintly, there were only two small lamps hanging on the walls around the house, emitting a faint light. Their silhouettes flickered in and out of existence. That loud sound was extremely loud in the silent night sky. Yun Xiang's face sunk, worried that it would attract the patrolling guards. He immediately clapped his hands. Instantly, 4 people in black robes sprang out from the ground. Before the dean could react, those 4 people attacked towards the dean. Profound Yi Qing Luo, who was nestled outside the window, her eyes widened as she witnessed this scene. Under the night sky, her charming eyes were like colored glass, extremely bright and resplendent. However, the few people in the chaotic battle did not notice this pair of bright eyes. Sure enough, they were from the dark forces. The remnants of the dark forces actually dared to appear in the Heavenly Academy. Those holy techniques, Pharaoh and whatnot, were they planning to nurture the Heavenly Academy into their second force? To tell the truth, Yi Qing Luo wasn't surprised that Yun Xiang would betray the director. Yun Xiang was a petty person. His ambition was huge. He couldn't stand the unfair treatment. Once someone stepped on him, Yun Xiang would have the thought of stepping back. Therefore, it was very normal for Yun Xiang to betray the dean. However, did Yun Xiang really think that Jianghu would help him to become the principal? Yun Xiang had lived for most of his life, yet he was still so naive. She willingly became a young man's chess piece. If Yun Xiang knew, would he vomit blood in anger? Through the window, he looked at the 4 remnants of the dark forces fighting and Yun Xiang's dean. The dean was forced to retreat step by step, and his body was covered with wounds. He did not even have the strength to resist. Yi Qing Luo's finger touched her pink lips. Looking at the dean lying on the ground, Yun Xiang's palm strike was heading towards the dean's head. Chapter 2286. A ray of profound qi blocked the dean's face and forced Yun Xiang's attack back. Yun Xiang staggered slightly and was shocked. Who is it? The 4 surviving members of the dark forces quickly got into a defensive formation. They released their senses and looked around. The ancestral hall was silent. The dean was panting heavily. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Luckily, Luckily he was all right. He was not dead. The Dean got up from the ground and wanted to escape. Yun Xiang was sharp and lifted his leg to kick the Dean's back. The Dean was covered in wounds. How could he have the strength to resist? A heavy force came from behind. The Dean's body flew out and fell face first onto the ground. You guys killed him. I'll go and see who is playing tricks. Yun Xiang's face was ashen. This was the most critical moment and he would not allow any accidents to happen. He wanted to kill the Dean. Then he would wait for the position of the Dean to fall on his head. The remaining dark forces nodded their heads vigorously. They raised the weapons in their hands and slashed down at the Dean who was lying on the ground and unable to move. Swish swish swish. Another few rays of profound chi, like hidden weapons, knocked down the weapons of the remaining dark forces. Who is it? Get out here. Seeing that the principal was stopped from killing him time and time again, Yun Xiang nearly went mad from anger. He gritted his teeth and roared furiously. Then he quickly attacked in the direction where the profound chi had come from. But there was no one at the place where the palm wind searched. Kikik. The enchanting and clear laughter was extremely strange in this gloomy and terrifying atmosphere. Where are you hitting? The teasing laughter continued. Yun Xiang widened his eyes and looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a petite figure standing in front of the Dean. That figure was covered with a large black robe and he could not tell who it was. But he could tell that it was a woman. The woman's voice was also extremely unfamiliar. Yun Xiang was sure. The woman in front of him was very unfamiliar. Who are you? Yun Xiang frowned and snarled, how dare you meddle in the affairs of the Heavenly Academy? Are you tired of living? An elder from the elders' quarters murdered the Dean of the Heavenly Academy. If this matter gets out, elder, I'm afraid you won't be able to live. The woman sneered as the corner of her mouth twitched. Yun Xiang's eyes were filled with killing intent. You want to threaten me? Very good. Since you came to seek death, this elder will kill you along with him. No matter who this woman was. As long as they were against him, he would kill them all. The woman's face was covered by the black robe, so it was impossible to see her face clearly. It was as if he had blended into the night. Yun Xiang could not see the woman's expression. However, he could clearly feel the woman's ridicule towards him. It seemed to be mocking him for overestimating himself. This woman, she was as disgusting as that slut Yiqing Luo. Yun Xiang's eyes turned cold as he attacked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. The 4 survivors whose weapons had been knocked off their hands, quickly surrounded them and attacked. However, the woman had no intention to continue fighting with them. She bent over and as though she was carrying a piece of rubbish, she grabbed the Dean's collar. Following that, the black robe fluttered. She had already disappeared into the small house. That speed was so fast that no one could detect it. Yun Xiang's heart trembled. Chase. Hurry up and chase. We absolutely cannot let them escape. The Dean wasn't dead. His murder charge, not only would he be chased out of the Heavenly Academy. Chapter 2287. No way. He could not let the Dean leave the ancestral hall alive. Yun Xiang's eyes were filled with a crazy storm. He took out a black ball-like object from his bosom. This was given to him by Si Yenmu. He was worried that he would encounter some obstacles and cause the plan to fail, so he gave him this as a backup life-saving item. Initially, he wanted to use this thing to kill those people in the elder quarters after he became the Dean. But now, he could only use it first. When he became the Dean, he could kill whoever he wanted to. Yun Xiang threw the ball-like object to the ground and smashed it hard. With a bang, the ball-like object exploded. The black smoke swallowed up everything in the ancestral hall. The black smoke slowly, condensed into the shape of a person. Yun Xiang was dumbfounded and took a few steps back. However, the black smoke seemed to have solidified and stopped him in his tracks. The black humanoid figures were like walking corpses. Step by step they walked towards Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang screamed out in fear. He turned around and wanted to escape. But those black fog-like things walked in front of Yun Xiang, one by one. They all bent down and bowed to Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang was stunned. After a long while, he seemed to be sure that those black fogs were not aggressive towards him. Yun Xiang then came back to his senses, squinted his eyes carefully and looked at these monsters. He thought for a while in his mind and said tentatively, "You guys, quickly catch the Dean and that woman just now, don't let them escape." The black fog monsters raised their heads. They had no facial features, only a black fog face facing Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang felt his heart trembling. Suddenly he saw those black fog monsters, passed him and chased in the direction where the Dean was taken. That speed was like a gibbon, totally not as clumsy as when they walked towards Yunxiang. At least 40 black fog monsters were born. Only then did the surrounding black fog gradually dissipate. In just a moment, there was only Yunxiang left in the entire ancestral hall. Yunxiang stood there in a daze. He looked at the direction where the black fog monsters left in a daze. Gradually he opened his mouth and laughed out loud. This thing, it was too heaven-defying. Xianmu actually had such a powerful thing. The dean would definitely die. That woman would definitely die as well. The woman was Yiqing Luo, who was covered in a loose black robe, dragging the director as she speedily left the ancestral hall. Her actions were extremely rough. The dean was almost out of breath. He kept hitting her wrists, trying to make her loosen up a little. Unfortunately, under the attacks of Yunxiang and the 4 dark forces, the dean's body was already completely drained of strength. After a few tugs, the dean lost all his strength and slumped to the ground. The Heavenly Academy has its own enchantment device, and once they leave the enchantment of the ancestral hall, they would be detected by the Heavenly Academy the moment they use their profound qi. After Yiqing Luo left the ancestral hall, she retracted all her profound energy and directly displayed her footwork, turning left and right. There was no place to hide in the Heavenly Academy. Carrying a burden who had lost half his life. If he was caught by those few remaining evildoers, it would be very easy to alert the other people in the academy. Thinking about it, Yiqing Luo decisively dragged the director and dashed towards the direction of the Heavenly Training Forest. Chapter 2288. The dean panted heavily as he laid on the ground, unable to even move his fingers. Yiqing Luo frowned as she looked down at him. If you want to die in the hands of Yunxiang, then I will leave now. Just treat it as a waste of time to save a waste. Finishing her words, Yiqing Luo turned around to leave. Miss? The dean couldn't bear to let Yiqing Luo leave. Now Yiqing Luo was his only savior. If Yiqing Luo left and the people from Yunxiang caught up, he would definitely die. Miss, I don't have the strength. No strength to open the entrance. I will tell you the method. In order to survive, the dean could only betray the academy's secret. He didn't care who this lady was. What was the purpose of saving him? He only wanted to survive. Yiqing Luo slowly bent down. The dean told her the incantation to open the entrance. Yiqing Luo followed the incantation and quickly opened the entrance to the Heavenly Training Forest. Just as she was about to pull the dean in, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly turned cold. She sensed that countless strange forces were approaching rapidly. Furthermore, that power was extremely powerful. Were they from Yunxiang? Or were the dark forces reinforcements here? Without much time to think, Yiqing Luo immediately carried the dean and jumped into the entrance. The Heavenly Training Forest was usually in a forbidden state. The enchantment here had divided this place and the academy into 2 zones. Casting profound energy here would not be detected by the Heavenly Academy's enchantment equipment. Seeing the entrance of the Heavenly Training Forest was completely sealed, Yiqing Luo then threw the dean under a tree. She bowed her head, and under the black robe, only a pair of sharp eyes were revealed as she locked onto the dean. Do you want revenge? For the time being, she had no intention to let the dean die so easily. This dean position, Yiqing Luo had no intention to let the dean hand over now. Xianmu's plan could not succeed. The dean's facial features were twisted. Yes. If it's revenge, I can help you, but you have to promise me one thing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as her brows were filled with a cold intent. The dean remained silent for a moment and clenched his fist. What do you want me to do? Your academy's faculty council president has a small grudge with me. I know. That elder Yunxiang betrayed you because the faculty council president promised him to become the next principal. Yiqing Luo half squatted down and fished out a crystal clear pill. As for me, I just don't want faculty council president to get what he wants, so I saved you. The dean clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with hatred. Xianmu. I will definitely deal with him. I was the one who gave him the position of president. If he wants to take it back now, it will be a piece of cake. Had the dignified dean of the Heavenly Academy is so simple? Yiqing Luo sneered. Now, even you don't understand the Heavenly Academy as well as Xianmu. After so many years, his foundation in the Heavenly Academy has long been solid. If I am not wrong, Xianmu's goal is to become the next dean. You and Yunxiang are just pawns. The dean's expression abruptly changed. The medicine that Yiqing Luo had fed to him started to take effect. The dean suddenly sat up from the ground and punched the ground. How dare he? Yiqing Luo snorted disdainfully. This dean was really too naive. To the dean she was now a stranger. She merely saved him. Did he really treat her as his savior? Did he believe her words without a doubt? But Chapter 2289. The dean's eyes were gloomy as he clenched his fists tightly, his veins popped out. What deal do you want to make with me? Yiqing Luo's lips curled up, her eyes under the black robe were like a frozen sharp blade. Based on your current reputation in the school, I'm afraid you are no match for Si Yenmu. If you go back openly, Si Yenmu may bite back. The dean's face sunk. This was indeed the case. He was very clear about Si Yenmu's status in the school. If Si Yenmu were to bite back, even if he could escape today, he would not be able to escape tomorrow. You. What good ideas do you have? The dean could only pin his hopes on the lady who saved his life. Yiqing Luo smiled mysteriously. You and Si Yenmu have been working together for so many years, you should have something on him. The dean's throat tightened. You? How did you? His relationship with Si Yenmu. Not many people knew about it. Why would this strange lady know about this? You don't need to care about how I know, what else I know, and how much I know. In short, Si Yenmu is our common goal. Yiqing Luo replied calmly. Now that Yun Xiang has already collaborated with the Dark Forces, if the both of them were to insist that you're from the Dark Forces, then by then you won't be able to defend yourself. Are you certain that you still have the mood to guess my identity? The dean clenched his fists tightly. After a long while, he took a deep breath, raised his head and stared at her maliciously. Good. I will not ask about your identity. As long as I can sit on the dean's position and let Si Yenmu and Yun Xiang step down, I will not hesitate to cooperate with the devil. Devil? Yiqing Luo laughed in a low voice. In her laughter, there was a trace of indolent and seductive smile. This title suits me quite well then. You can call me devil. The dean's fists creaked. I have Si Yenmu's weakness in my hands and the evidence that he is from the Dark Forces. Do you want me to make this evidence public? No. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. If you make it public, what if Si Yenmu also comes up with the same evidence and bite back at you? He has the support of the Dark Forces, he can distort the truth at any time and point the spearhead to you. The president's face turned pale. What should I do? Since we have Si Yenmu's weakness and evidence, we need to make use of these things to their fullest potential. Yiqing Luo slowly got closer to the director as her voice was suppressed, filled with bewitchment. Yun Xiang making a move on you today is an opportunity to counterattack. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, the director's expression slowly turned gloomy as a dense murderous intent kept surging in his eyes. Just as Yiqing Luo finished her last sentence. At the entrance of the heavenly training forest, an extremely loud collision sound was suddenly heard. Yiqing Luo's expression changed. They're catching up. Just a moment ago the dean was still brimming with murderous intent. But now he immediately leaned against the tree trunk and slumped down. How could this be? Here, how did they find out? There's the presence of profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo frowned as her gaze locked onto the wound on the director's shoulder. She suddenly raised her hand and placed her palm on the dean's wound. The dean screamed in pain, his face pale. You, don't think too much. If I wanted to take your life, you would have died a long time ago. Yiqing Luo half squatted down. Chapter 2290. It's indeed the profound yin qi. That fresh blood which stained the handkerchief oozed out strands of black qi, like black smoke. When director saw the wisp of smoke on Yiqing Luo's handkerchief, his face revealed a terrified expression. My body is tainted with the profound yin qi. Am I going to be devoured? Don't worry, you won't die now. Yiqing Luo threw the handkerchief onto the ground. Yun Xiang had just collaborated with the Dark Forces and isn't familiar with the manipulation of the profound yin qi, so he only left some profound yin qi on your wound. Director clenched his teeth as he supported himself against the tree to stand up. Let's go now. There are many enchantments in the heavenly training forest, let's hide first. No matter how many enchantments there are, if the profound yin qi on your wound has not been dealt with, they will still be able to chase up to us. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at him indifferently. Director panicked. Then what should we do? Kill the remnants of the Dark Forces. Yiqing Luo's voice was extremely calm. Kill. You. Can you do it? Director looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. Although this lady looked like an expert, but she was after all a petite lady, Could she deal with the dark forces? Yiqing Luo's ears moved slightly, sensing that the entrance to the forest had been destroyed. The expression on her face turned grave. Go and wait at one side. Director propped himself up and wobbled into the bushes at the side. Coincidentally, one after another black fog-like humanoid monsters had already rushed into the heavenly training forest. Yo, is this a new breed from the dark forces? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she sized up those monsters with interest. Behind the monsters, a white-robed Yunxiang with a complacent face walked out. Little slut, who asked you to be a busybody? This elder will send you to meet King Yama now. He waved his arm as he gave a sinister smile. Go! The black fog monsters, one after another, pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Those black fog monsters looked like they didn't have any facial features or thoughts, just like a lump of fog, gathering together to form a humanoid monster. But their attacks totally didn't show any signs of sluggishness. One after another, the black fog monsters launched their attacks in an orderly manner. The powerful mysterious Yin Qi enveloped the entire forest. The mysterious Yin Qi came in a torrential manner, spreading out circles after circles of mysterious waves in the air. Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the profound waves' encirclement as her red lips under the black robe curled upwards. With a flip of her hand, a greenish-white long sword appeared in her palm. She could not reveal her identity. The glowing flame fan was a symbolic weapon. Once it was taken out, Yun Xiang and the Dean would immediately recognize it. Therefore she took out a long sword from the profound phoenix ring. This sword was also very convenient to hold and it was extremely light. She released her profound energy and the long sword in her hand was like a snow-white wave as it surged and collided with the circles of profound ripples. The earth shook and a thunderous sound rang in his ears. Bang bang bang. The mysterious Yin Qi that was floating in the air was dispersed by the force of the sword. But Yiqing Luo didn't stop there. She raised her sword and leaped into the air. In just a few breaths she had already dashed into the black fog monsters. The long sword in her hand turned into a lustrous white sword ray, as it covered the sky and earth as it waved in all directions. Those black fog monsters were enveloped by that sword ray in a split second. Chapter 2291. Yun Xiang was so scared that he took a few steps back. His body was stuck to the stone wall and his legs were weak. How is this possible? Weren't these monsters the strongest? How could it be so easily chopped into pieces by that bitch? Why was that slut sword technique so unfamiliar? However, in the next instant, Yun Xiang's terrified and shocked expression was gradually replaced by joy and complacency. The monster that was originally broken into pieces. After Yiqing Luo brandished her sword, they started to converge again bit by bit. Once again it formed a humanoid monster. Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised as she withdrew her sword stance and retreated to a big tree. Sure enough, when she swung her sword at the black fog monsters just now, she felt that something was wrong. It was as though he had sliced through the air. There wasn't the slightest feeling of a solid object. Now these monsters had regrouped. She was also sure of her guess. These monsters were the same as the flame beasts in the flame lair. They were all made of dark energy. These monsters were combat monsters refined from the dark forces' profound Yin aura and the dark forces' forbidden spells and secret arts. They were a mass of mysterious Yin Qi. There was no substance. No matter how they beat him, no matter how they crushed his body and bones, the mysterious Yin Qi could reorganize itself. It was indeed a disgusting thing. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. These things. She obviously knew that she couldn't kill them, but she still forced herself to tear them apart, which would only deplete her profound energy. But, if he didn't retaliate, these monsters could inflict real damage on her. Only the dark forces would use such disgusting things to disgust people. Yun Xiang looked at the black fog monsters and laughed wildly. Ha! Little slut. Do you think you can do anything to them? Let this elder tell you they are all this elder's protectors. You die. This monster was too powerful. An unkillable monster with such a powerful battle prowess. As long as these black fog monsters existed. Even if he wanted to suppress the Three Springs sect and rule the West Continent, or even the entire Nirvana realm, it wouldn't be a problem. Yun Xiang bared his fangs and brandished his claws at Yiqing Luo, clamoring for the monsters to tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. The monsters got their orders and all of them moved agilely as they speedily stretched out their 5 fingers towards Yiqing Luo. As they attacked again. Little by little, the black mist encircled their outstretched hands and transformed into weapons. The mist was pitch black and did not look sharp at all. But Yiqing Luo could clearly feel it. The weapons that were chopping down were surrounded by mysterious yin qi. If he was touched, the mysterious yin qi would definitely corrode her. How was he going to deal with this group of black fog monsters? Yiqing Luo swiftly evaded these monsters' attacks while in her mind, she summoned Old Man Song for help. Old Man Song, tell me quickly. How do we deal with these monsters? In the blink of an eye, the two monsters had grasped the opportunity. Simply and crudely he pounced forward. Luo girl, be careful. Old Man Song's voice resounded in his mind. These monsters can be destroyed with the Thunderclap art. Thunderclap arts? Reward for the second floor of the Purgatory Tower? No. She could not use the Thunder Crash arts. This was a monster from the Dark Forces. Everything she did would be transmitted to the Dark Forces through these monsters. She used the Thunder Crash spell, which meant that the Azure Dew bracelet and the secret of the Purgatory Tower would be exposed. The current her had no confidence to protect the Azure Dew bracelet. Chapter 2292. Last Luo. Now is not the time to hesitate. Old Man Song bellowed in panic, be careful in front. Yiqing Luo regained her senses as she looked at the two monsters pouncing forward. One of the monster's hand was already on her wrist. A gush of extreme coldness, as though it came from the depths of hell, struck her. Yiqing Luo violently shook off the monster's hand as she retreated backwards. The monster behind her had apparently guessed her next move. At the moment when she retreated, the two hands turned into balls of profound yin qi, shrouding Yiqing Luo in an overwhelming manner. Yiqing Luo's eyes were gloomy, her fingers moved and the long sword in her hand turned into a ray of cold light, trying to force the profound yin qi to retreat. Suddenly Yiqing Luo sensed the surrounding air, stagnated for a moment. The powerful and vigorous aura tore a hole in the layers of mysterious yin energy that were shrouding them. Following that, the balls of profound yin qi suddenly collapsed. Bam! A burst of biting cold profound energy brushed past her cheek. Yiqing Luo could clearly see that the black fog monster which was trying to coil around her had actually turned into a puddle of black smoke, as it dissipated cleanly without leaving any traces behind. Bam! Another burst of profound energy landed. The monster which attacked from behind Yiqing Luo was also dispersed. There was a helper? Yiqing Luo's expression did not relax, instead her brows creased, she moved her body vigilantly, stood aside and turned her head to look at the direction where the profound energy came from. A few monsters were dispersed and did not regenerate. Yun Xiang was also stunned by this scene. He hid behind the monster, his back against the stone wall as he looked around. Who was playing tricks on him? Whoever dares to be a busybody, I will kill them too. The air was quiet. Yiqing Luo did not manage to find any traces of the figure. Her heart skipped a beat. The person's ability was absolutely strong. She actually could not sense it, but she could confirm that person was nearby. Yun Xiang took a deep breath, looking at the dozens of monsters. He tried to give an order. Continue to attack. Kill that slut. Find the director. The monsters did not hesitate to obey the order. Bang bang bang. This time it was no longer a small profound energy attack. Instead, it was a wave of surging dark force that engulfed those monsters. Yun Xiang watched in disbelief as the wave of dark force devoured the monsters bit by bit. Yiqing Luo was also stunned by this scene. Who exactly was it that could actually use profound energy to directly disperse this profound yin qi? An elder of the Heavenly Academy? He's actually colluding with the dark forces. This is interesting. A clear voice leisurely rang in everyone's ears. Yun Xiang felt a chill down his spine. That voice, it came from behind him. No. Behind him was a stone wall. However, he still couldn't help but jerk his head to look behind him. His neck was strangled by a slender, creamy hand. Yun Xiang and Yiqing Luo saw the incoming person. What entered his eyes was an extremely cold and elegant ocean blue dress. Her appearance was cold and beautiful, and a silk belt around her waist perfectly outlined her slender waist. She raised her hand and the spacious ocean blue sleeves slid down to her wrist. Her 5 fingers, locked onto Yun Xiang's neck tightly without any signs of loosening. That lady looked like she was only 16 or 17 years old, but her beauty was soul-stirring. Even Yiqing Luo couldn't help but be tempted. Chapter 2293. The woman clutched Yun Xiang's neck as she slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo. Her swaying posture was extremely graceful. Finally, she stood in front of Yiqing Luo. Her aura was instantly intimidating. That icy cold face was like a beauty blossoming on an iceberg, proud and aloof. Her beautiful eyes fell coldly onto Yiqing Luo. Her jet-black pupils were suffused with a faint sea light, extremely mysterious. Yiqing Luo stared blankly at the sudden appearance of the woman. He watched as she easily destroyed those black fog monsters. He watched as she strangled Yun Xiang's neck with one hand, not showing any mercy at all. Watching her walking step by step in front of her, that icy cold look. Yiqing Luo's heart was shaken. What kind of woman was she? She was so powerful that even she was shocked. The woman's coldness was different from Tong Ziqing's coldness. But it was a kind of extremely flamboyant, extremely arrogant coldness. Are you all right? The woman's voice was cold as she spoke indifferently. Yiqing Luo was stunned again. I'm fine. The woman's cold eyes glanced at Yun Xiang, who was almost suffocating. Do you want him to die? Temporarily? No need. Yiqing Luo stared at her as she replied. The woman responded indifferently as she casually threw Yun Xiang onto the ground. Yun Xiang almost lost half his life. Yiqing Luo didn't pay attention to Yun Xiang as she stared straight at the woman in front of her. Who are you? Jun Qingwu. The cold words came out from the woman's mouth. Jun Qingwu? Yiqing Luo searched for this name in her mind. Extremely unfamiliar. She frowned slightly as she was very surprised. How could there be no legends about such a powerful and shocking woman in the martial arts world? Unless this person was not from Nirvana realm. This thought made Yiqing Luo's pink lips trembled slightly. She was about to speak when she was interrupted by Jun Qingwu's cold voice. I am a student from the class of gods. Class of gods student? Yiqing Luo wanted to ask but was forcefully held back. She stared at Jun Qingwu's face. I have not seen you in class of gods. I was on leave for the past few days. Jun Qingwu replied indifferently. I just came back today and ran into this matter. Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. In other words, when Jun Qingwu was returning to the academy, he happened to see her being chased by Yun Xiang, so he followed her into the heavenly training forest and saved her. Why did it feel, what felt strange? It felt exactly the same as when she showed up and saved the principal from Yun Xiang's hands. An elder of the heavenly academy colluded with the dark forces. This matter must be reported to the academy. Jun Qingwu said lightly. Why did he chase after you? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved as the luster flickered and suddenly laughed out. Of course, if possible, can student Jun be the witness? Troublesome, Jun Qingwu rejected coldly without hesitation, her eyes filled with impatience. Let's go back to the class of gods. If you found it troublesome, you wouldn't have saved me just now. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she smiled and leaned forward. Student Jun must have his own motive for saving me. She smiled and her body softened as she leaned on Jun Qingwu's arm. The woman's fragrance was like the winter plum in the cold winter, extremely elegant. Chapter 2294. Jun Qingwu squinted her cold eyes. Her penetrating gaze seemed as though she could see through Yiqing Luo's soul. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly and even inched closer, making eye contact with her. After some time, Jun Qingwu replied calmly, Yes, I have a motive for saving you. But I'm not interested in being a witness. This chick was pretty honest, huh? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Alright, then I won't force you. Jun Qingwu glanced at the direction where the director was hiding. I'm going back to the class of gods, remember this favor you owe me. Yiqing Luo smiled bitterly. What she hated the most was to owe a favor. But unfortunately this girl wanted a favor. It looked like this girl's motive for saving her was rather complicated. But Jun Qingwu's appearance had prevented her from using the thunderclap arts and also speedily dealt with the black fog monster, so that she didn't waste too much time. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards, her brows were filled with tranquility. I'll remember it. Jun Qingwu didn't say anything else as she turned around and left. Just like when she came, mysterious, noble and elegant. The matter has been settled, come out. Yiqing Luo said indifferently. The director climbed out from the haystack. His head was still mixed with a few strands of hair and his clothes were also covered with grass. He stuck his head out. Earlier? That young lady, is she your helper? The director was too far away and didn't hear the conversation between Yiqing Luo and that lady. Only through the gaps of the haystack, he saw that Yiqing Luo and that lady seemed to be extremely intimate. Yiqing Luo shook her head and tugged the black robe on her to cover herself more tightly before changing her tone. That's a student from the class of gods, you don't know her? Class of gods? The director was stunned and looked around to make sure that there was no longer any danger before he walked out from the haystack. The matters of the class of gods have never been under the school's jurisdiction. As for what students there are in the class of gods, I don't know. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. It seemed like it would be impossible to get information about that woman from the dean. Forget it, anyway she still had a month's time to spend in the class of gods. She would eventually find out that lady's motive. Yiqing Luo took a look at Yun Xiang, who was sprawled on the ground, unable to move. I'll leave the remaining matters to you, don't disappoint me. These words made the dean somewhat displeased. He had always been the one giving the orders. But now, he was passively listening to the orders of a strange woman. However, he had no other choice. The dean vented his hatred on Yun Xiang. His gaze was vicious as he clenched his fists tightly. Under Yiqing Luo's medicinal pills, he had regained some energy as he walked towards Yun Xiang, looking at the dean's furious footsteps. Yiqing Luo curled her lips slightly and quietly disappeared from the heavenly training forest. The next day before dawn, a sensational event happened in the Heavenly Academy and the whole academy was awakened. When the academy guards were patrolling outside the training forest, they discovered the academy principal, who was covered in wounds and on the verge of death, and Yun Xiang, who was gripping his neck tightly. Beside him there were 4 people in black robes. Cloud heard the noise and rushed over. He quickly sent the dean to the infirmary. The dean's injuries were extremely severe, both internal and external. Yun Xiang had also suffered from internal injuries and his throat was injured by the profound energy, rendering him unable to speak. Those 4 black-robed men were already dead. After Yun Tian's verification, they were from the Dark Forces. This verification stunned the elders who rushed over upon hearing the news. The Dark Forces people actually appeared in the Heavenly Academy? Why didn't any of them detect it? Chapter 2295. The dean was injured like this. There was a barrier device in the academy but it was not touched? What was going on? The elders began to check the barrier device and found that the barrier device was indeed tampered with. The news quickly spread to the faculty council. Immediately, Si Yenmu put down the work in his hands and rushed to the medical hall. Si Yenmu's face was full of anxiety and his tightly knitted brows revealed a hint of ruthlessness. The students who were passing by could not help but sigh in their hearts. Their president was really like a male god. Not only was he good-looking, he was so worried about the dean's health. When Si Yenmu hurriedly rushed to the medical hall, he saw that there were a few elders from the elders' quarters there. There were even 2 elders from the General Institute present at the scene. Si Yenmu's heart skipped a beat. Why would there be people from the headquarters here? He quickly walked into the dean's room and saw the dean leaning weakly against the headboard on the sickbed with a pale face. Under the bed, Yun Xiang was twitching non-stop. He opened his mouth and wanted to speak but could not say a word. When he saw Si Yenmu, Yun Xiang's eyes turned quickly and blinked at Si Yenmu. This action attracted everyone's attention. One by one they cast their gaze on Si Yenmu. Si Yenmu was slightly startled and quickly collected his thoughts and walked over with a worried face. What is going on? He turned his head to look at the elders. He missed the haze that flashed across the dean's eyes. The dean's hand that was hanging in the bedding clenched tightly. Sure enough, it was as the mysterious woman had guessed. The plan failed and Si Yenmu wanted to bite back at him. When he saw that he was injured and lying on the bed, he did not even say a word of concern. He just wanted to directly bite back at him. The dean sneered in his heart but on the surface he put on an extremely angry expression and spoke before the elders. Yun Xiang, this traitor. He betrayed the Heavenly Academy and joined the Dark Forces. Last night he tried to use the Dark Forces to kill me. He gritted his teeth as he spoke and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. President, since you are here, I will leave this matter to you to handle. I need to recuperate in the near future. The dean's face was filled with righteous indignation. Si Yenmu frowned and looked into the eyes of the dean. However, the dean suddenly blinked his eyes, as if he wanted to convey something to him. Si Yenmu was startled. Could it be that the headmaster still didn't know that Yun Xiang was under his orders? Under the concise and comprehensive explanation of the elders, Si Yenmu was also clear of the current situation. It turned out that in the middle of the night last night, Yun Xiang had used a secret technique to sneak into the ancestral hall, knocked him out and brought him out of the ancestral hall. But not long after, the dean came to his senses and wanted to retaliate. He did not expect Yun Xiang to call the 4 remaining members of the underworld organization. He escaped all the way to the heavenly training forest, but he did not expect Yun Xiang to bring the remnants of the dark forces and chase after him. After a great battle. Although the Dean had killed the remaining members of the dark faction and subdued Yun Xiang, the dark faction was not as powerful as Yun Xiang. But he himself was also seriously injured. Fortunately, he always had a life-saving elixir on him at all times to extend his life in time. Otherwise, he really would have died in the academy. Chapter 2296. The Dean was touched and cupped one hand in the other before his chest. With this action he coughed violently again. The elder of the Dean quickly stepped forward to support him and asked him not to be overly courteous. For a moment the whole room was filled with greetings. Si Yenmu knitted his brows tightly and looked at the Dean suspiciously. The Dean himself was a member of the Dark Forces. Yun Xiang and 4 people from the Dark Forces were after him. Did he suspect something? He knew that the Dark Forces did not intend to keep him alive. So, in for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. He wanted to use this matter to clear himself of being related to the Dark Forces? He wanted to ask for help from the Dean? Si Yenmu stared at the Dean and suddenly lowered his eyes to look at Yun Xiang, who was lying on the ground with a pleading look. Dean, Elder Yun Xiang has been in the academy for decades and has been loyal to the academy. Why would he betray the Heavenly Academy? Dean, are you sure that you did not fall into someone's plot? There was silence in the room. After a long while, Yun Duan looked at Si Yenmu with a helpless and unbearable expression. We do not want to believe that it was Yun Xiang, but... On the barrier device there was a piece of white cloth. It was clearly embroidered with the word, Xiang. He looked at Yun Xiang's sleeves. The sleeves of the elders will be embroidered with their names, and the place where Yun Xiang's name was embroidered, there was indeed a hole. If it was Elder Yun Xiang, why would he be so stupid to leave his own things for you to find out? Si Yenmu frowned and stared at the elder with his gentle eyes. Yun Duan frowned slightly and looked at Si Yenmu with a strange look, as if he did not know him. Near the spirit formation device is a protective membrane made of steel. Usually, it is the headmaster and I who go over to check if the device is operating normally. Occasionally, we would get our clothes or hair scratched by those uneven protective membranes. Moreover, I have never noticed that I have been scratched by them. Before last night, Yun Xiang had never gone to the barrier device. In other words, last night it was Yun Xiang who went to the barrier device and tampered with it. It was to kill the Dean. Not only that, we also compared the injuries on the Dean's body. They were indeed caused by the mysterious Yin Qi. Elder Yun Xiang's body also has the aura of the mysterious Yin Qi. The doctor sitting in the medical hall said. Si Yenmu pursed his lips and quickly adjusted himself. His own emotions were restored to calmness and gentleness. So that's the case, I'm sorry? After working with Elder Yun Xiang for so long, when I heard that he did such a thing, my feelings were very complicated and agitated. Before the head elder could speak. However, he heard the hospital director's friendly laughter coming from the hospital bed. President, the way you looked at me just now gave me a fright. If I didn't know you well, I would have thought that you and Yun Xiang were in cahoots. Si Yenmu's face stiffened. This time he was completely sure. The headmaster already knew the reason for Yun Xiang's betrayal. It was because Yun Xiang had turned to his side. The Dean also knew that he was the one who wanted to kill him. However, what made Si Yenmu curious was, the Dean had always been a coward. This time he actually dared to openly provoke him. Moreover, with the Dean's skills, he was able to kill 4 people from the Dark Forces and cripple Yun Xiang. Behind the Dean, there was someone helping him. The purpose was to overthrow him. Si Yenmu's eyes flashed and he laughed secretly in his heart. Chapter 2297. Class of Gods. 2 classes had just finished their physical training. Those who were drinking water were drinking water, those who were wiping their sweat were wiping their sweat. There were even a few who had collapsed on the training ground and closed their eyes to rest. After the physical training, they had 1 hour's rest time before the next training mission. Yiqing Luo took a piece of white silk and wiped the sweat on her forehead. Her gaze wandered around the surroundings. After a round of training, Yiqing Luo didn't notice that girl named Jun Qingwu. Wasn't she a student from the class of gods? Didn't she return to the class of gods early in the morning? Why didn't she see her during the training? Or could it be, that girl was actually lying to her? Qing Luo, who are you looking for? Tong Ziqing walked over. You seem to be looking for someone from the class of gods since this morning's gathering. Yiqing Luo shook her head. But her gaze was suddenly fixed on one person. That person's gaze was looking over. To be precise, it was looking at Tong Ziqing. I heard that the day before yesterday, Si Ming Han gave up on the competition and specially ran back to the actual combat training forest to look for you for the entire night. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the girl standing behind her. Tong Ziqing's pupils suddenly contracted. Her eyelashes trembled unnaturally. Him looking for me is his own matter. Even this didn't move your heart? Yiqing Luo raised her pink lips, stood up and hooked Tong Ziqing's shoulder. To tell the truth, when I heard this news I was touched. He was just bored and wanted to find someone to tease. Tong Ziqing pursed her red lips and turned her face away. Her voice was calm and steady. So, don't tease me. Yiqing Luo patted her shoulder. Silly girl, sometimes stubbornness is not necessarily right. For matters of the heart, only you can choose according to your heart. That is the right choice. Of course, I'm not advising you to give up on Ajan after all. You've had a crush on him for so many years, it's not that easy to forget. But, from an outsider's point of view, when you say this, I have to refute it for Si Ming Han. If he was bored and wanted to tease you, there's no need to use his own body as a joke. You should also know that he searched the forest for you for an entire night. He ran through every corner of the forest and almost lost his life to the claws of the magical beasts several times. And yesterday, in order to ensure your safety, in order to train together with you, even with my injuries, I forced myself to participate in the strengthened training. If that's the case, you still think that he's just bored and trying to have fun with you, then I have nothing to say. Tong Ziqing wanted to interrupt Yiqing Luo several times. But hearing Yiqing Luo's words, her red lips pursed even tighter. The more she listened, the lower she lowered her head. Yes, Tong Ziqing could feel it. She could sense that he was joking and serious. He just didn't want to believe it. Love at first sight. It sounded wonderful. But in reality, it wasn't as beautiful as it seemed. She fell in love with Long Yunjian at first sight, but it was only because she was moved at first sight that she fell deeply in love with him later on. However, Si Minggan's love at first sight was too sudden, so sudden that she couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it either. She loved Long Yunjian. This was something that no one could change. Even Si Minghan was the same. Rather than giving Si Minghan hope, she might as well pretend that she didn't know anything. Feelings that couldn't be reciprocated. Moreover, 1 month later they would return to the devil class. Chapter 2298. Looking at Tong Ziqing's drooping eyelids, struggling but stubbornly biting her lips. Yiqing Luo could also tell the choice in Tong Ziqing's heart. She sighed softly. Everyone's love was different. Their attitude towards love was different too. Tong Ziqing loved Long Yunjian so much that she couldn't see Si Minghan. This was Tong Ziqing's choice. She couldn't force Tong Ziqing to do anything. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and patted Tong Ziqing's shoulder lightly. I only hope that you can be truly happy. Tong Ziqing's petite body trembled slightly. Happy? She already didn't know whether she was happy or not. It seemed that Long Yunjian could take a look at her, speak to her and stand in front of her to protect her without hesitation. It was happy. But the more happiness she had, what followed was even more loneliness and sadness. She had loved Long Yunjian for too long. She really didn't know if her happiness was still important. It seemed that she really loved someone. So much that she didn't even have herself. This thought caused Tong Ziqing's entire body to be stunned. She turned her head as though she was escaping and quickly left the training ground, heading towards a direction where there was no one around. Her mind was in a mess. Tong Ziqing had long forgotten about the question she asked Yiqing Luo about who she was looking for. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she looked at Tong Ziqing's panicked back view. She wanted to chase up. But from the corner of her eyes she saw someone from the class of gods chasing up. Yiqing Luo put down her raised foot. Si Minghan he really liked Tong Ziqing. His gaze had always been focused, only accommodating Tong Ziqing alone. Being loved by such a person should be blissful. But Tong Ziqing probably wouldn't be able to walk out of the cage set by Long Yunjian. But she should give Si Minghan a chance to open the door to Tong Ziqing's heart. If Tong Ziqing continued to love Long Yunjian and he still didn't respond, it would be too tiring. The next moment Yiqing Luo saw a blue figure flashed past her and chased towards the direction where Tong Ziqing and Si Minghan disappeared. He bumped into Yiqing Luo and was totally unaware. The only thought in his mind was to quickly catch up. Not far away, Yin Xiaoyi, who was nestled in Xiao Jin's arms, mischievously looked at the scene before her. She clicked her tongue and said, "Class monitor looks like he's moved. Doesn't he like Qing Luo?" Xiao Jin gently fed her water. Yen Xiaoyi drank a mouthful of water in satisfaction as the cooling feeling eased her fatigue. Under such a strong opponent like the Overlord, you still like Qing Luo, aren't you just looking for death? Xiao Jin nodded in agreement. That's true. But class monitor still hasn't realized that his feelings towards Qing Luo is no longer the love he thought it was. Yen Xiaoyi stretched her waist in Xiao Jin's embrace. I hope that Si Mingan's appearance will make the class monitor understand her own heart. Otherwise, our goddess Zi Qing will be hurt again. Yi Qing Luo held onto her injured elbow. She burst out laughing. Indeed, the appearance of a love rival could truly allow one to understand their own heart. Their Mr. Class Monitor was finally going to be enlightened? Yi Qing Luo rubbed her own arm and a concerned voice floated over her head. Student Yi Qing Luo, your arm, is it all right? Yi Qing Luo raised her head and her eyes were filled with smiles as she replied politely, Teacher Yi, I'm fine. Teacher Yi smiled as he looked at the young lady in front of him. Chapter 2299. They had intensified their special training yesterday and today, they had intensified their training to a new level. The students from the class of God were obviously lacking in today's special training. But the students from the devil class were still fighting bravely. This kind of spirit was really shocking to these teachers. And also very curious. What kind of method did the students from the devil class use to grow to this stage? This was crucial to their teaching career. Hence, Teacher Yi was sent out to inquire about the news. Do you need to rest? Teacher Yi asked with a smile. Yi Qing Luo took off the soft silk from her neck and put it aside. Coincidentally, I have something to ask Teacher Yi. Do you have time to chat? Teacher Yi beamed with joy. Come, let's go over there. The two of them walked one after another to the training ground, to the stone table where the teachers were resting. Yi Qing Luo sat down. Teacher Yi went straight to the point. Student Yi Qing Luo, before you entered the devil class, Before you entered the devil class, how was their performance? Yi Qing Luo understood. It seemed that Teacher Yi was very interested in the students of the devil class. She replied with a smile. When I first entered the devil class, I was almost taught a lesson by them. Actually, the students in the devil class are not the so-called waste, they are just using the mask of waste to cover up their true selves. Teacher Yi stroked his beard. Which meant that the changes in the devil class had nothing to do with Yi Qing Luo. Teacher Yi looked in the direction of the devil class. Then do you know how many students in your class are not from the Heavenly Academy? How many? Yi Qing Luo was stunned for a moment. Are you trying to say kitty? That's a cat beast from the beastman race, has it contracted with you? As someone from the upper realm, Teacher Yi naturally recognized Kitty Li's identity. Yi Qing Luo nodded calmly. With Kitty Li's identity, it was easy to fool the people from the Nirvana realm. The people from the upper realm had some understanding of the beastman race. With a little careful observation, they could clearly discover Kitty Li's true identity. Teacher Yi's eyes were filled with admiration. To be able to subdue a beastman to form a contract with him, and a little girl from the lower domain at that, it was truly rare. He stroked his beard and threw out the next question. There's another one. Yen Xiaoyi. The faculty council doesn't have her information either. Xiaoyi? Yi Qing Luo's eyes revealed a puzzled expression. When I joined Devil Class, Xiaoyi was already a veteran student in Devil Class Faculty Council. How could it be possible that there's no information on her? Her words had just stopped. Yi Qing Luo thought of something. The last time, when Yen Jinfei stole the portraits of the students from the Faculty Council and Devil Class, she had also said, in the portrait there was no Yen Xiaoyi. Could it be that Yen Xiaoyi was afraid that Yen Jinfei, who was working in the Faculty Council, would discover her identity, so she purposely hid her identity? There's another student. She's the one who is the most low-key amongst all of you, but the one who isn't simple Mouing. Teacher Yi then pointed at the little girl who stood in the corner like a soulless puppet, staring blankly into space. Mou Ying's true identity was the island sage of Godless Island. She didn't have anyone by her side in the Faculty Council, so she stayed in Devil Class? This Heavenly Academy's system was really inconceivable. Easily able to let students who weren't from the Heavenly Academy enter the Heavenly Academy. After that, she openly appeared in the Academy. The Academy actually didn't know about it. Chapter 2300. Devil Classes change, is it because of them? Teacher Yi lowered his voice and asked meaningfully. Yiqing Luo concealed the deep glint in her eyes as she gave a polite smile. These I'm not too sure. But during this period of time in Devil class, the only thing I can be sure of is that they all sincerely treat themselves as Devil class's students. Pausing for a moment, Yiqing Luo's eyes sparkled with sincerity. Why would they come to Devil class, I think? It's because they wish to have a place to stay. Teacher Yi was stunned. Suddenly he recalled his investigation on the three people. A beast, human, cat, beast, Yiqing Luo's contracted beast. She naturally had to stay by Yiqing Luo's side. There was no one in charge of Devil class, so it was understandable for Kitty Li to be placed in Devil class. And one was the Yin family's second miss. Her days in the Yin family were miserable, and finally she couldn't take it anymore, so she escaped from the Yin family. The Yin family had no feelings for this missing second miss, and no one went to look for her. Devil class was indeed the only place for Yan Xiaoyi and that mysterious young lady. Until now, they were still unable to find any information about that young lady. However, such a strange little girl who never seemed to know how to socialize and communicate with others. To be able to get along so harmoniously with everyone in Devil class, it showed that the feelings between them were indeed sincere. Since they have already lived in Devil class for so long, then Devil class belongs to all of us. None of our family members can be missing. Yiqing Luo looked at Teacher Yi smilingly with a serious look on her face. So Teacher Yi, regarding Devil class's students, I hope you won't tell the academy. Teacher Yi stroked his beard and laughed out loud. If I wanted to say, I wouldn't have specially come to ask you. I just want to know, what method did your Devil class use to have such a huge change, and as compared to the class of gods, it's even stronger. This really makes us three teachers blush with shame. Method? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and pondered for a moment. How should I put it? What can change a person, can never escape from the word love. Friendship, love, kinship. Or hatred, disgust, and so on. She continued, because there is love in one's heart. Perhaps it is the desire to protect someone, or perhaps it is the desire to be acknowledged by someone, or perhaps it is the desire to become stronger, or perhaps it is the desire to take something back. These are all reasons why a person changes and becomes stronger. As Yiqing Luo said that, she looked towards those 10 students who were resting in Devil class. Her charming eyes were filled with a warm brilliance. She curled her lips and smiled warmly. As for the Devil class, maybe they want to protect the Devil class, to protect the affection between them. Teacher Yi was taken aback. His hand, which was stroking his beard, paused slightly. After a while, he let out a low laugh. I understand now, it's no wonder. The innate talents of the God class are so good, but they can't compare to the students of the Devil class. Yiqing Luo smiled but didn't continue the conversation. I have another question. Teacher Yi also looked towards the direction of the Devil class. Every student in the academy has a student's wooden plaque. On it, there will be detailed records of every student's profound rank changes. These changes could be observed by the Elders Department at any time. Why is it that, after so many years, the profound grade of the Devil class's students' wooden tablets has never changed? Chapter 2301. The Academy's Wooden Plate? The thing. After it was taken away by Long Yunzhan and sealed away, she had forgotten about it. If I have the intention to avoid the Academy's attention, I will naturally think of ways to avoid any possibility of being discovered. Yiqing Luo replied frankly. Teacher Yi nodded thoughtfully. You bunch of kids. If only I had discovered you earlier and accepted you all into the God class. His words were to probe Yiqing Luo. They indeed had the intention to bring the 10 students from the class of devils to the class of gods for special training. These children were not as talented as the other students. However, after going through their special training, he would definitely become a powerful profounder. However, look at the affection between these students. Very likely, he would still choose to refuse. As expected, Yiqing Luo pretended not to understand and smiled lightly. Class of God students, their innate talent and learning ability are very strong. These 2 days of special training in Class of God, we have all benefited a lot. Teacher Yi didn't know what else to say. Then he casually muttered a few words. There was only an incense stick's worth of time left to rest. Just as Teacher Yi was about to instruct Yiqing Luo to prepare for the upcoming training, he heard Yiqing Luo's indifferent voice. Teacher Yi, I would like to ask, is there a student in the class of gods, called Jun Qingwu? Jun Qingwu? Teacher Yi was taken aback. Yes. Is she not coming for today's special training? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Why was Teacher Yi's expression so strange at the mention of Jun Qingwu? It seemed like he was afraid of that student called Jun Qingwu? Fear. He was a headmaster from the upper three realms. How could he be afraid of a student? She should be. Teacher Yi's expression was slightly flustered. Suddenly, he seemed to have seen something from the corner of his eyes and immediately said, Of course she's here. Student Jun Qingwu has been busy these few days, so she hasn't come to school. She just returned today, so of course she'll be here for the special training. Saying that, he had already looked towards a certain direction behind Yiqing Luo. Look, student Jun Qingwu is coming over. Yiqing Luo followed Teacher Yi's gaze. A beautiful girl dressed in ocean blue slowly walked over. Her sea blue skirt was like a blooming platy coat on. His icy cold face made him look extremely mysterious and noble. Jun Qingwu's arrival immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, Jun Qingwu turned a blind eye as she walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows, but from the corner of her eyes she caught a glimpse of Teacher Yi's trembling body staring at Jun Qingwu. It was as if he was nervous about something. Then a student from the class of gods exclaimed, Student Jun is back. Classmate Jun is back. Teacher Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Teacher. Jun Qingwu's cold voice drifted into his ears like a cold current. I'm back. Teacher Yi swallowed his saliva and smiled. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. It's almost time for the next training. Jun Qingwu, hurry up and get ready. As he spoke, he left as though he was escaping. In Yiqing Luo's eyes, Master Yi was on the run. Why did he seem to be afraid of Jun Qingwu? Classmate Jun Qingwu, we meet again. Yiqing Luo didn't think too deeply about it. She wasn't interested in delving into the secrets of the class of gods. Jun Qingwu glanced at her indifferently. You're quite energetic. Last night, because of the matter between the director and the dark forces, she had been tormented for the whole night. Now she could still participate in the special training. Chapter 2302. Jun Qingwu's energy isn't bad either. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up, her imposing manner didn't lose to hers. Jun Qingwu's eyes turned cold. With just a glance at Yiqing Luo, she sat directly on the seat that Teacher Yi was sitting on. His dignified appearance did not resemble that of a student at all. His every movement exuded a noble aura. Thinking back to last night, Jun Qingwu was able to break through the dark secret technique with a casual wave of her hand. In the blink of an eye, those black fog monsters were destroyed. Such a woman, did he still need to study in the class of gods? It could be said that it was because of Teacher Yi's attitude. Yiqing Luo could sense it. This woman's status had long surpassed that of the headmaster. Suddenly Yiqing Luo seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up and her gaze was like a torch as she stared at Jun Qingwu. What is your relationship with Diamo Xian? Jun Qingwu slowly raised her eyes. Her gaze was as cold as a 1,000-year frost. If this kind of gaze was placed on an ordinary person, they would probably be frozen to death under this frost. But Yiqing Luo didn't seem to notice it at all. She quickly sat down. It's you. Xian and the palace master of the Upper Xian Palace wanted me to find you. She used a declarative sentence, not a question. The woman who knew the location of the sacred beast pearl was Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu's personality was actually quite similar to Zhu Wuxin's. They were all cold and unfeeling. He would never take anything to heart. But last night, in that kind of emergency, Jun Qingwu had saved her. If she wasn't someone Jun Qingwu knew, or someone who was useful to Jun Qingwu would never have helped her. Most importantly, she had covered herself with a loose black robe last night, which had changed her voice. Even if the devil class students were to stand in front of her, they might not be able to recognize her. However, Jun Qingwu had calmly revealed her identity. It was as if he was certain that she was a student of the class of gods. Moreover, Jun Qingwu had made it very clear that she had a motive for saving her. Which meant that right from the start, Jun Qingwu knew that the person under the black robe was her, Yiqing Luo. Therefore, only then did Jun Qingwu lend a helping hand. The reason for Jun Qingwu's attack, it must be. Diamo Xian had mentioned it to her. Furthermore, the student who knew the whereabouts of the Saint Beast orb that the palace master of the Upper Xian Hall had mentioned. It could only be Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu raised her brows, her icy cold beautiful eyes fixed on Yiqing Luo. You're very smart. In other words, Yiqing Luo's guess was right. I've always been curious as to what's so special about the woman that Dizun fancied. Now I finally understand. Jun Qingwu stood up calmly. I promised Dizun that I would protect you when he's not around. So, please don't cause too much trouble or I'll get annoyed. The woman's cold voice was devoid of any emotion. It was extremely cold. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. Diamo Xian asked Jun Qingwu to protect her? This was the reason why Jun Qingwu had saved her last night? However, why did Diamo Xian let such a beautiful and courageous woman to protect him? Isn't it enough for her to have Beiyuan as her secret guard? Wasn't Diamo Xian afraid that because she was jealous of Jun Qingwu's beauty and power, she would be willful and unreasonable? Yiqing Luo expressed, how could she let such a noble and mysterious existence protect her? She was under a lot of pressure. Although Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change much, but that pair of eyes was bursting with a myriad of changes. Chapter 2303. You smiled. Yiqing Luo's eyes sparkled as her brows revealed a smile. You look even prettier when you smile. The smile on Jun Qingwu's face froze. She pursed her lips and restrained the smile on her face. She turned her head and walked away in embarrassment. She must have been blinded by lard earlier to think that Yiqing Luo was cute, especially when her mind was filled with so many things related to her. She tried her best to put on a calm look. Jun Qingwu pursed her lips even tighter as she clenched her fists and hastened her footsteps. Student Jun Qingwu. Yiqing Luo's voice was heard from behind. She paused but didn't turn back. You should have something else that you haven't told me. Yiqing Luo ran up to her. Jun Qingwu slowly turned back as her cold gaze met her eyes. This afternoon's training, win me and I will tell you. Saying that, she turned around and walked towards the direction of the class of gods. Yiqing Luo? Are you sure you're not teasing me? Jun Qingwu's ability was obviously not on the same level as those students in class of gods. Compared to Jun Qingwu, it was like class of gods and devil class. But looking at Jun Qingwu's back view, Yiqing Luo's gaze gradually became determined. Challenging the strong had always been her interest. She wouldn't back down. Break time was up. The two classes returned to the team. Yiqing Luo looked at the empty space in the team. Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing didn't return. Si Minghan didn't return from class of gods either. It looked like the relationship between the three of them hadn't been resolved yet. The second round of training was guided by teacher Shenqing. Shenqing only glanced at the empty space indifferently before looking away. She didn't ask any questions. Teacher Shenqing was in charge of actual combat. His habit was to let the class of devils and the class of gods fight each other in the arena. Devil class was on one side. Class of gods was on the other side. The loser would return to the spectator seating while the winner would continue to stand on the arena, until all the students in each class were defeated. The student who obtained the final victory would receive a bottle of essence chi pills specially made by the teacher. These 2 days, the one standing on the arena had always been devil class's Long Yunzhan. Today the students in class of gods were in high spirits and filled with excitement. Because Jun Qingwu was back. The ones standing in the arena today would definitely not be students from the devil class. The class of gods could finally regain their dignity. The arrogance of the class of gods was clearly on the rise. A smile appeared on Shenqing's face. For the past 2 days, the class of gods had been tortured by the class of devils to the point that they were doubting their own lives. Now, the students of the class of gods were finally invigorated. His gaze went back and forth between Jun Qingwu and Yiqing Luo. Today's special training would be more exciting than he had imagined. The training began. In the first group, both sides sent out their weaker students. This was because the more powerful the students were usually placed at the end. Otherwise, wouldn't it be easy for him to lose if he exhausted all his strength from the start? Ni Rupan's current strength had already reached the Earth Profound Realm. Ni Rupan's performance was considered good regardless of whether it was her stamina or her consciousnness. However, Ni Rupan still lost the first round due to the disparity between their profound ranks. The devil class substituted someone. After a few rounds, Qiao Jin went up and the gap between both parties widened. Devil class had the upper hand. When there were only 3 people left in the class of gods, the stronger students from the class of gods came up. On the side of devil class there were still 5 people left. Qiao Jin took a look at Yan Xiaoyi and saw her eager gaze. He exchanged 10 over moves with that student and admitted defeat. Chapter 2304. Around half an hour later, Yan Xiaoyi successfully defeated the students from Class of God. Shen Qing looked towards the direction of the students from Class of God. Other than Jun Qingwu, there were still 2 people left. He was preparing to pick one of the students to accept the challenge, only to see Jun Qingwu stand up. Her sea blue long dress fluttered in the wind. Facing the breeze, it made her look even more indifferent. She slowly walked to the front of Yan Xiaoyi, her icy cold gaze looked at her indifferently. "I'll do it." Yan Xiaoyi's pretty face stiffened. How could she not feel the powerful aura emitted from Jun Qingwu in front of her? It was so oppressive that she almost couldn't breathe. Yan Xiaoyi clenched her fists tightly. Qiao Jin worriedly said, "Xiaoyi, don't force yourself." She pursed her lips, her gaze fixed on Jun Qingwu without blinking. She wasn't resigned to admit defeat like this. "Student Jun Qingwu, please enlighten me." Yan Xiaoyi clenched her fists tightly as she fiercely attacked Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu didn't move at all, until Yan Xiaoyi's attack came. The next moment, Jun Qingwu seemed to have melted into the air as she disappeared. Yan Xiaoyi's punch hit empty air. Yan Xiaoyi's face turned pale. Her perception totally couldn't detect Jun Qingwu's presence. This kind of situation, Yan Xiaoyi and Yi Qing Luo had a similar match before. Yi Qing Luo used her speed, making her unable to trace. In the end, she lost the match with a dazed look. This student called Jun Qingwu, not slower than Yi Qing Luo's speed. Suddenly, Yan Xiaoyi heard the sound of wind beside her ear. She immediately turned to the right and did a side flip. Her footsteps had just stabilized, when she saw a ball of sea blue brilliance pressing towards her. She didn't dodge this attack at all. In her heart, an unknown energy surged. The black sickle blade surged in her blood, trying to protect its own master. As the attack pressed down, Yan Xiaoyi's slender fingers gradually clenched tightly. The black sickle blade was about to break through her body. Just at this critical moment, a small palm but incomparably warm covered her shoulder. A young lady's gentle voice rang beside her ear, "Xiaoyi, next is my battlefield." All of a sudden, the restlessness in his body vanished. Yan Xiaoyi's eyelashes fluttered and she blinked blankly. She met a pair of eyes that seemed to be decorated with stars. "Qing Qing Luo?" Yan Xiaoyi opened her mouth. It was Yi Qing Luo who appeared by her side in time. Raising a hand, he steadily blocked the oncoming dark force. Yan Xiaoyi still had some lingering fear when she thought back to the strange state of her body. She said in a low voice, "Be careful." Then he retreated. As soon as they returned to the audience seating area, Xiao Jin pulled her into his embrace. "Xiaoyi, what happened to you just now?" Yan Xiaoyi shook her head. I don't know." Just now, her body seemed to be inexplicably agitated. The black scythe blade seemed to be rushing out of his body. This was just a competition. The Xian energy that Jun Qingwu attacked did not contain any killing intent. At most, she would suffer some superficial wounds. But in that instant, why was there such a strong and strange feeling? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? After the training ends, let's look for Ghost Doctor to take a look. Xiao Jin looked at Yan Xiaoyi's pale look as he hugged her tightly with a worried gaze. Yan Xiaoyi nodded. Let's see Qing Luo first." She suppressed the uneasiness in her heart and focused her attention on the training grounds. On the training grounds, Jun Qingwu and Yi Qing Luo stood face to face. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she looked at Jun Qingwu's cold face. "Student Jun Qingwu, if I didn't win you, would you not tell me?" Chapter 2305. The smile on Yi Qing Luo's lips grew brighter and her eyes were filled with excitement. Then, "Jun Qingwu, please show some mercy." Her words had just ended when Yi Qing Luo's figure had already dashed forward. Her entire body was shrouded in a layer of enchanting red glow. Thick, profound energy encircled her beast body, one round after another, as if it was a whirlpool that was about to attack. Streams of airflow turned into the shape of a tornado, rising from the soles of Yi Qing Luo's feet. For a moment, the entire training ground was eroded by the majestic, profound qi. The pupils of the students of the class of gods constricted. They stared at Yi Qing Luo in disbelief. Sky Mystic Overlord's profound energy. Heavenly Academy's lower class, actually nurtured such a young Sky Mystic Overlord? No wonder, Yi Qing Luo had such a high status among this group of abnormal devil class students. Yi Qing Luo herself was a strong cultivator. These 2 days of battle training. Yiqing Luo would usually defeat 1 or 2 students from the class of gods and would be replaced by Long Yunzhan. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo's real strength was actually a strong cultivator. Sky Mystic first grade, not bad. Jun Qingwu's calm voice rang. Following that, her figure suddenly disappeared. Yiqing Luo's attack fell into thin air. But, the next moment, Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and kicked hard towards the right side. Bam! Her right leg knocked against Jun Qingwu's elbow and both of them retreated a few steps. Jun Qingwu raised her eyebrows as her red lips curled into a cold arc. Your reaction is not bad. After Yiqing Luo stabilized herself, she gathered her profound energy again and waved her palm upwards. There are still many who are not bad. Jun Qingwu can slowly teach me. Let's wait and see. In Jun Qingwu's cold eyes, there was a trace of interest. She raised both her hands and profound qi surged as she met Yiqing Luo's palm. Bam bam bam. The deafening profound qi bombarded the entire training ground. The flowing profound energy was scattered everywhere. The surrounding crowd was also affected by the profound energy. However, the two in battle had not noticed it at all. Shen Qing immediately called for the students to retreat from the training ground. A barrier was formed, separating the battlefield from the students. This battle caused Shen Qing's eyes to flicker with uncontrollable excitement. This young lady called Yiqing Luo. It was indeed extraordinary. Even though he was only at the first level of the Sky Profound Realm. But her strength, her skills and her fighting skills were all unmatched. It was something that even these old seniors were amazed by. Let's watch this match. It wasn't just the students who had the opportunity to learn. It was the same for him. It was their loss that Old E and Old Fatty did not come. The battle continued. Yiqing Luo's gaze was sharp and the movements of her hands became increasingly swift. One set of palm technique after another was executed smoothly. He closed in on Jun Qingwu step by step without any intention of backing down. Jun Qingwu had obviously suppressed her Shen Qi. Yiqing Luo could sense it. In his heart, a certain conjecture about Jun Qingwu gradually formed. Jun Qingwu narrowed her beautiful eyes and defended herself several times. Yiqing Luo was overbearing. Jun Qingwu's lips curled and after noticing Yiqing Luo's action, her smile became even colder as her imposing manner rose sharply again. A burst of sea blue energy erupted from Jun Qingwu's body again. Chapter 2306. This attack was enough to defeat Yiqing Luo directly. However, just as they were holding their breaths in trepidation, they saw the young lady who was originally within Jun Qingwu's attack range suddenly turned around and her feet swiftly stepped out in extremely strange footwork. Immediately following that red figure disappeared in the sea blue energy encirclement. This reaction, this footwork, it was simply amazing. The crowd couldn't help but applaud. Honestly, if it was them, they would absolutely not be able to react so quickly. Looking at Yiqing Luo, after escaping from Jun Qingwu's attack, she swiftly counterattacked. When the crowd saw Yiqing Luo's counterattack clearly, they were all stunned. They saw Yiqing Luo's entire body was glowing brightly. Her entire body was like an arrow leaving the bow, speedily getting close to Jun Qingwu. Immediately following that, both her hands flipped over and struck towards Jun Qingwu. Wasn't this the move that Jun Qingwu had used earlier? In just a short period of time, Yiqing Luo had perfectly replicated Jun Qingwu's move. Moreover, it had been improved. It was a profound energy blockade which left Jun Qingwu with no way to escape. Heavens! This Yiqing Luo was simply too terrifying. Just that one move and she had completely replicated the opponent's move. She even targeted the reason why she was able to avoid that move and made some changes. This kind of godly skill in the entire Nirvana realm, Yiqing Luo was probably the first. Jun Qingwu was obviously stunned by Yiqing Luo's counterattack. That pair of clear beautiful eyes slightly widened. Her eyes were filled with a glint of surprise. And coincidentally, Yiqing Luo's attack had already landed. Just as the crowd was marveling at Yiqing Luo's valiant ability and regretting that Jun Qingwu had lost the competition, they saw Yiqing Luo, who was originally standing at the original spot, suddenly changed her footwork and she had already rushed to the front of Jun Qingwu. Just as that attack was about to land, her palm moved and a red feather fan suddenly opened up on her fingertips. Bam! The profound energy landed and the glower flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands shot out intense rays of light. The enchantment which was formed blocked the profound energy completely. The profound chi's ripples were flowing. The girl's red clothes fluttered in the wind. She was obviously petite, but she stubbornly stood in front of Jun Qingwu, protecting Jun Qingwu behind her. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? Earlier that attack, wasn't it Yiqing Luo herself who exploded out? How did she run over and block my attack? Jun Qingwu was also stunned. Her ice-cold beautiful eyes were a little dazed. She stared blankly at the extremely delicate shoulder in front of her, yet it was standing in front of her, blocking the profound energy in front of her. Her heart was violently shaken. He couldn't describe what it felt like. Are you stupid? Fortunately, this is just a competition. If it was a real battlefield, you could easily lose your life if you just stare blankly like that. The girl's reprimanding voice sounded in his ears. Jun Qingwu's long and dense eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. Her eyes slowly returned back to Yiqing Luo's face. Looking at the girl's serious expression and tightly knitted eyebrows, Jun Qingwu's heart softened for no reason. She suddenly understood why this young lady was able to capture Dmo Xian's heart, and was able to make Zhu Wu Xian's heart move for her. This kind of lady? Chapter 2307. In the end, Yiqing Luo won this match. When the master announced the end of the training and gave everyone time to eat and rest, the training would continue in the evening. Jun Qingwu headed straight to the entrance of the training ground. Yiqing Luo quickly followed. Jun Qingwu's footsteps were slow, as if she was deliberately waiting for her. Yiqing Luo noticed this and her lips curled into a faint smile. She followed behind Jun Qingwu. The two of them walked on the small path, one in front and one behind. Not knowing how long they had walked, Jun Qingwu frowned and turned to look at her. How much longer are you going to follow me? That depends on how much longer you want to walk. Yiqing Luo replied with a smile. Jun Qingwu frowned even tighter. I'm not walking anymore. You said that if I win you will tell me what I want to know. Yiqing Luo continued to reply with a smile. She could feel it. After the actual combat training, Jun Qingwu was no longer as cold towards her as before. The move of a hero saving a damsel in distress was useful at any time. Even if it was between the same gender, it was still useful. Moreover, she also felt that she had replicated Jun Qingwu's attack on the training ground and blocked it for her. That attack was really cool. She was a man. She was afraid that she would fall in love with her. It was no wonder that such a cold person like Jun Qingwu had changed towards her. After all, she was that handsome. Jun Qingwu fixed her gaze on her, her eyes were icy cold. After a while, she walked to the other side of the small path. Yiqing Luo followed without saying a word. In the dark, Fatty Master and Master Yi walked out. They stared at Jun Qingwu and Yiqing Luo's back and heaved a sigh of relief. I thought that a mountain cannot accommodate two tigers and they would fight the moment they meet. Luckily. Fatty Master also wiped his sweat. The Overlord said that the strong will appreciate each other. I didn't expect that. They really became friends. It's good that they're friends. At least we don't have to think of ways to make our relationship better. Teacher E heaved a long sigh of relief and pulled Fatty Teacher towards their resting room. I really don't know if we're lucky or unlucky. The students this year are getting more and more abnormal, and even all the big shots are coming to the class of gods in groups. The fat teacher shook the fat on his face. To be honest, I have never seen so many big shots in the upper realm. Teacher E nodded his head empathically. I still hope that a month's time will pass quickly. This young lady is too good at stirring up trouble. Our students are not like those perverts in the devil class, they can handle the sudden changes in the situation. Yiqing Luo followed behind Jun Qingwu and arrived at Jun Qingwu's dormitory. She has a single room. The location of the room was good, and it was extremely clean and tidy. An outer room and an inner bedroom. What made Yiqing Luo astonished was, from top to bottom the room seemed to have been replaced with new things. Like the tables and chairs in the outer room, the tea set. Like the little decorative items in the surrounding, and the luminous pearl by the door. These looked new no matter how she looked at it. This room shouldn't be a room that someone had stayed in for a long time. Chapter 2308. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze and sat opposite Jun Qingwu. Then what can you reveal? Sacred Beast Pearl. Jun Qingwu spat out word by word. Yiqing Luo's smile froze slightly. Her back slowly straightened as her eyes fixed on Jun Qingwu. Where is the Sacred Beast Pearl? A long time ago the god race's deity emperor passed away and was buried in the void. The god race's deity emperor divided his remaining profound energy into 4 portions and hid it on the 4 sacred beasts under the god race, forming the sacred beast pearl. Eastern azure dragon pearl. Southern vermilion bird pearl. Western white tiger pearl. Northern black tortoise pearl. Jun Qingwu's voice was extremely cold, but the words that she spat out were extremely clear and seeped into one's eardrums. Sacred beast pearl? Is on the sacred beasts? Yi Qing Luo recalled the 2 sacred beasts in her pet space. She seemed to have never heard Qi and Qi Yan mention anything about the sacred beast pearl on her. Not really. Jun Qingwu shook her head as she glanced at her indifferently. You grew up in 3 spring sects, so you should know about the 4 great sects. Yi Qing Luo was stunned. 4 great sects? Jun Qingwu said that the 4 sacred beasts were under the god race. And the 4 great sects were rumored to be the god race's guards, distributed in the 4 corners of Nirvana realm, guarding the god race's deity emperor's tomb. Jun Qingwu mentioned this point at this moment. Could it be that the sacred beast pearl wasn't on the sacred beasts, but in the 4 great sects? You guessed correctly. As though she could read Yi Qing Luo's thoughts, Jun Qingwu spoke calmly. The sacred beast pearl is guarded by every sect patriarch. Their ancestral teachings were passed down to prevent the 4 sacred beast pearls from being gathered one day. What? Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly when she heard that. Why? Did the sect patriarchs want to prevent the 4 sacred beast pearls from being gathered? Didn't the Lord of Profound Palace say this sacred beast pearl was a shortcut to the upper realm? Suddenly Yi Qing Luo recalled what Jun Qingwu said earlier. Before the divine emperor passed away, he divided his remaining dark force into 4 parts and injected it into the 4 divine beasts. That was how the divine emperor came to be. If he gathered all 4 sacred beasts' pearls, could it be that the remaining power of the divine emperor would also fuse with it? More accurately speaking, would the appearance of this power cause countless people to go crazy in pursuit of this power? The upper mystic hall master was lying to her? Indeed, as you have guessed, once the 4 sacred beast pearls are gathered and the god race blood is used to break the seal, the power and the sacred beast pearls will become the power of the person who breaks the seal. Jun Qingwu's eyes did not waver at all. There was not the slightest fluctuation in his tone, but the content of her words was shocking. Of course, the 4 sacred beast pearls can indeed open any entrance to the upper realm. However, once the entrance is opened, it is necessary to release the remaining divine emperor's Shen energy. Jun Qingwu suddenly lowered her voice, causing the atmosphere and mood to become extremely cold at this moment. This power will spread throughout the Nirvana realm and the upper 3 realms. Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled violently. Her face was a little pale. That was to say, once the power of the 4 sacred beast pearls was used to open the passageway, which was to tell everyone, someone had inherited the remaining divine emperor's Shen energy from the 4 sacred beast pearls. Even though that person might not be Yi Qing Luo. Once this matter was known by others, even if Yi Qing Luo went to the upper 3 realms, she would still be chased after. Chapter 2309. Then, is there any other way for me to go to the upper realm? Yi Qing Luo clenched her fists. Her heart was filled with complicated feelings. She didn't understand why the Lord of the Upper Profound Palace would hide such an important matter. Or, the Lord of the Upper Profound Palace wanted to make use of her to get the 4 sacred beasts' beads? But, the Lord of the Upper Profound Palace asked her to look for Jun Qingwu in the class of gods. However, Jun Qingwu had clearly told her the truth. The Lord of the Upper Profound Palace didn't expect that Jun Qingwu, who was also DMO Shen's friend, would tell her the hidden power behind the 4 sacred beasts' beads. Or, was there another conspiracy? Yi Qing Luo expressed that her brain was not enough to use. Your profound grade is not enough to ascend to the upper realm. Jun Qingwu narrowed her beautiful eyes. If you want to go to the upper realm, cultivate for a few more years. A few years, although she also wanted to stay in the Nirvana realm. She wanted to accompany her brothers. But if she stayed in the Nirvana realm, her strength would never be able to improve. The general strength in the Nirvana realm was a little weak for her now. It completely couldn't stimulate her to advance or break through. If she wanted to become stronger, she had to go to a higher place and accept a stronger opponent. Otherwise, what could she use to protect the things she wanted to protect? What could she use to find out her own origin? There's another way. Jun Qingwu looked at Yi Qing Luo's depressed look, pursed her lips and said calmly, "What?" Yi Qing Luo's eyes lit up. Gather the 4 sacred beasts' beads and open the passage. Looking at Jun Qingwu's red lips opened and closed, spitting out such a sentence. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes. I don't intend to do risky things. This didn't mean that she was afraid of danger and didn't dare to fight to the death with those who wanted to snatch the 4 sacred beasts' beads. But there was no need to deal with such a situation. She cherished her life. She had a bunch of brothers who cared about her. She had a lover whom she cared about. She cherished her life very much. She wouldn't easily take her life as a joke. More importantly, she not only had the Azure Dew bracelet, Divine Phoenix Profound Jade, but also a map that even Diamo Shen cared about. If she attracted the attention of those people from the upper realm, it would be very easy to expose these secrets that she was hiding. She couldn't risk it. Let me finish. Jun Qingwu rolled her eyes at her coldly. Yi Qing Luo who was rolled her eyes. Why did she feel that Jun Qingwu was very cute when she was being rolled her eyes? Finally, he wasn't expressionless anymore. Jun Qingwu regained her expressionless face. You formed a contract with the 4 great sacred beasts and used a drop of the sacred beast's blood to form a contract with the 4 sacred beast pearls as your lifeline. Contract? The 4 great saint beasts? Yi Qing Luo was slightly stunned. Then, what will happen after contracting the 4 sacred beasts' beads? The remaining power of the Divine Emperor in the sacred beast pearl will be sealed in the sacred beast pearl. Jun Qingwu answered calmly. It was as if the power inside the sacred beast pearl was just ordinary power. Sealed? After sealing it, I can open the passage to the upper realm? Also, it won't attract other people's attention? This method seemed to be quite good. Jun Qingwu squinted her beautiful eyes. But contracting the sacred beasts isn't an easy task. The 4 great saint beasts were once the guardian sacred beasts of the god race. Deep in their bones, there is a noble bloodline and they will not easily lower their heads to humans. Yi Qing Luo was very clear about this point. Other than Chi being adorable. Chapter 23:10. Also, Jun Qingwu paused for a moment. A trace of coldness and seriousness appeared on her beautiful face. Once you contract the 4 sacred beast pearls, the sacred beast pearls will become your lifeline just like the 4 great sacred beasts. If others find out that you have the sacred beast pearl on you and snatch it away, wanting to absorb the remaining profound energy in the sacred beast pearl. Jun Qingwu's voice became deeper and deeper, revealing a strong sense of warning. Once the remaining profound energy within the sacred beast orb disappears, you will turn into ashes together with the sacred beast orb, and the 4 great sacred beasts that you have contracted will once again turn into sacred beast stone statues, and lose their source of life. Yi Qing Luo's pupils dilated little by little. In other words, she only had 2 choices now. Or, he could spend a few years to cultivate to the minimum standard of being able to ascend to the upper realm and ascend to the upper realm. Although this method was time-consuming, it was safe. Or he could contract the sacred beast bead. This method was too dangerous. You still have a long time to think about it. Jun Qingwu knocked on the table. The rhythmic sounds brought Yi Qing Luo back to her senses. I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. After all, you might not necessarily be able to form a contract with the 4 great divine beasts, right? Jun Qingwu's clear voice was like a murmuring brook, slowly pacifying the restlessness in Yi Qing Luo's heart. Yi Qing Luo's heart calmed down a little. Besides, the sacred beast pearl is in the hands of the sect leaders of the 4 major sects. Are you sure you can get it easily? Jun Qingwu rolled her eyes at her again as if laughing at her thinking too much. Yi Qing Luo expressed that what Jun Qingwu said was very reasonable and she actually couldn't refute it. So, wait until you get the sacred beast bead and contract a sacred beast, then you can slowly think about this problem. When Jun Qingwu said this, her eyes flashed with a hint of slyness. Yi Qing Luo? If she really got the sacred beast pearl and contracted 4 sacred beasts, she wouldn't need to be so conflicted, all right. It was a contract. Why did she have the guts? Did he feel like he had been tricked by Jun Qingwu? While she was thinking, Jun Qingwu had already stood up and looked at her coldly. No problem. You can scram now. Did Yi Qing Luo need to be so cool? However, there were no other problems. She came to find Jun Qingwu to ask about the sacred beast pearl. She looked at the time. There was still an hour left before the break. She had to eat something first to replenish her strength before heading to the training ground to gather. Immediately Yi Qing Luo stood up. Then I'll go first. As she spoke, she walked out of the house. Just as he stepped out of the house, Yi Qing Luo's words paused at the side of her mouth. At this moment, Jun Qingwu turned around and headed towards the inner room. The gauze curtain at the entrance of the inner chamber fluttered, making Jun Qingwu's silhouette appear somewhat indistinct. In his mind, a figure overlapped with Jun Qingwu's figure. Yi Qing Luo's eyes widened as she rushed into the room and grabbed Jun Qingwu's wrist. "It's you. It's you?" Jun Qingwu frowned. "What's wrong with you?" It was you who sealed my voice." Yi Qing Luo's eyes were burning as she stared into Jun Qingwu's eyes. "Don't try to deny it, my memory is not wrong. That day, it was the dark forces who allied with other forces, trying to invade the West Continent. Godless Island's young island Master Island Yigan was also involved. Later on, they made use of the poison in Yen Xiaoyi's body as a bargaining chip to threaten her to release that Earth Realm old man as well as Lord Yu. She was just about to compromise. But she discovered that her voice was sealed. Chapter 23:11. Earlier through those gauze curtains that blurry figure. She immediately thought of the figure that had flashed by in the crowd. It was her. Jun Qingwu lowered her eyes and coldly swept a glance at the hand which was hugging her wrist and replied calmly, "That's right, it's me." "What?" Yi Qing Luo frowned. "Don't tell me you really want to compromise with Yigan?" Jun Qingwu sneered. Yi Qing Luo's thoughts were exposed. I knew the Overlord would come." Jun Qingwu's next sentence made Yi Qing Luo speechless again. Which meant Jun Qingwu knew Dmo Xian would rush over. That was why they sealed her voice when she agreed to release the Netherworld and the old man from the Earth Realm. It was so that she wouldn't compromise. Wait till Dmo Xian arrived? Yi Qing Luo couldn't refute this explanation. But she still had some doubts. Then why did you escape in a hurry after sealing my voice? You don't know me and I don't want to know you. If I stay and get surrounded by your men it would be too troublesome. Jun Qingwu replied as though it was a matter of course. Yi Qing Luo? Alright, what she said made sense. If it was her she would also choose to leave. When her voice was sealed, Dmo Xian rushed over and not long after she was able to speak again. She could roughly feel it. The person who sealed her voice didn't have any ill intentions. Yi Qing Luo slowly released Jun Qingwu's wrist and smiled. "I'll believe your explanation, I'll return to the training ground first." Saying that, she left Jun Qingwu's room. When the door behind her closed, the smile on Yi Qing Luo's face faded. She quickly left the small path of the dormitory and headed towards the training ground. Perhaps everyone was eating and resting, there was no one else on the small path. Yi Qing Luo looked around and released her perception as she called out in a deep voice, "Beiyuan, are you there?" The wind blew and the grass swayed. A slight breath slowly floated over. Following that, she saw a slender and charming figure appearing in front of her. The lady's long sleeves were like smoke and the light muslin fluttered. She was dressed in a plain white dress which made her look like a fairy. Her face was gentle, exquisite and beautiful. Between her brows, she was graceful and charming. No matter how he looked at her, she did not look like a dark guard. Ordinary dark team guards were all dressed in black and wrapped themselves up as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know that they were dark team guards. Only Dmo Xian's secret guards would dare to be so daring. Yi Qing Luo knew the reason why Tang Beiyuan had always maintained such a dignified and beautiful appearance. She had heard it from Dmo Xian. Tang Beiyuan's fiancé, the man named Lang Li Xian, would also be transferred over. However, Tang Beiyuan was able to wear beautiful clothes when she was hiding without anyone noticing her presence. This was enough to prove her strength. "Mistress." Tang Beiyuan bowed respectfully. "Beiyuan, let me ask you, that Jun Qingwu, is she good friends with your overlord?" Yi Qing Luo lowered her voice and asked softly. Tang Beiyuan shook her head. "I've always been in charge of internal affairs in the Imperial Palace. I've never been around to protect His Majesty. If Di Zun's friend hasn't been to the Imperial Palace, I wouldn't know him." Alright, even Dmo Xian's secret guards did not know about it. It looked like they could only wait for Dmo Xian to return before they could ascertain Jun Qingwu's identity. Chapter 23:12. The Aura of the Upper Realm? Yi Qing Luo was stunned. There was a strange expression on her face. Jun Qingwu's appearance was too strange. Jun Qingwu was definitely not just a student of the class of gods. No. To be more precise, she was suspecting that Jun Qingwu was not a student of the class of gods. but to get close to her she came to the class of gods. Linking the aura that Tang Beiyuan sensed coupled with her guess, if all these were true. The teachers were acting strangely towards Jun Qingwu, and her incompatibility in the class of gods, and this room which did not look like a dormitory at all. Everything could be explained clearly. Currently the only thing she could be sure of was that Jun Qingwu did not have any ill intentions towards her. Perhaps it was as what Jun Qingwu said. Dmo Xian had specially instructed her to stay by her side and protect her. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelashes and nodded. I understand. If you have a way to pass the news to Xian, please ask him about this matter. Tang Beiyuan looked troubled. If the Overlord was in the Nirvana realm, I would be able to pass the news to the Overlord as soon as possible. But the Overlord is heading to the upper realm? The upper realm and Nirvana realm were very far apart. And it was totally not the same realm. This news would not reach Dmo Xian no matter what. Yiqing Luo sighed softly. Her slender fingers touched the profound phoenix ring which was suffused with a red glow. She tried to ask Tang Beiyuan because the profound phoenix ring could not sense Dmo Xian's profound dragon ring. It looked like the difference between the realms. Even divine weapons could not penetrate it. Forget it. After the final training session at night was over, she would go into the Azure Dew bracelet and ask Old Man Tsang. She would see how much of what Jun Qingwu had said just now was true and how much was false. Just as she was about to ask Tang Beiyuan to leave, Tang Beiyuan's expression changed as she whispered, "Mistress, someone is coming." Then she hurriedly disappeared into the air. The next moment he saw a group of people running toward him in twos and threes. 2 students from the class of gods. And 2 students from the devil class. The moment Kitty Li saw Yiqing Luo, her eyes lit up. Meow. It opened its arms and pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Following closely behind, and I Ruopan panicked and said, "Qing Luo, something happened. Class monitor and student C from the class of gods are fighting." Yiqing Luo's hand which was rubbing Kitty Li's head paused. What's the matter? The 3 of them did not participate in the training just now. Why did they suddenly start fighting for no reason? I don't know either. They were fighting very fiercely. The class monitor seemed to want to kill student C. We couldn't stop him at all. Xiaoyi told me to find you. Only you can stop the class monitor. And I Rupan's eyes were red as she quickly explained the situation. Yiqing Luo glanced at the 2 unhappy students from the class of God, her eyes dimmed. Bring me there. Actual combat training forest. Not long after they entered the forest, they heard the sound of profound energy and weapons colliding in front of them. The shouts of the students were also mixed in. Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly as she hurried to catch up. He saw Long Yunzhan and Si Minghan fighting intensely, as if the other party was their father's murderer. The 3 masters rushed up to stop them but were forced back by the 2 of them. Obviously they would not stop until one of them was dead. Long Yunzhan held the blue long sword in his hand as his profound energy surged, wave after wave. The long sword seemed to be covered with a layer of scales, shining with a strange luster. Chapter 23:13. Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly as her gaze was fixated on the long sword in Long Yunzhan's hand. Had he really gone mad? In order to kill Si Minghan, he didn't even intend to conceal his identity as a human dragon? He actually covered his own dragon scale on the sword. Long Yunzhan. The young lady cried out sharply as her gaze was burning as she stared at the man who was still in battle. The man whose name was called turned slightly stiff. The hand which was holding the long sword tightened. Everyone turned to look at Zhang Xian. Qing Luo. Tong Ziqing saw Yiqing Luo coming and immediately ran in front of her. She was usually cold and elegant, but at this moment she was crying her eyes out. Tong Ziqing hugged Yiqing Luo's arm. Qing Luo, quickly stop class monitor. He seems to have gone mad. Totally doesn't listen to me. Tong Ziqing was sobbing as she couldn't speak clearly. Yiqing Luo patted the back of her hand lightly. On the other side, the battle which had stopped momentarily continued. Long Yunzhan suddenly roared as the blue long sword in his hand was raised up high above his head. A burst of blue profound glow was released from his body. Indistinctly, that blue long sword revealed an indistinct dragon shape. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. Long Yunzhan, he really intended to expose his identity as a human dragon? Did he really intend to kill Si Minghan? This move, if it really hit Si Minghan would absolutely not be able to survive. Lass. In her mind, Old Man Song's voice suddenly rang, young lad Long's eyes. are not right. Yiqing Luo immediately looked at Long Yunzhan's eyes. That pair of azure blue eyes were filled with waves after waves of turbulent waves. And around that eye socket, obviously, a wisp of black qi lingered around it. Profound yin qi. It was profound yin qi again. Dark forces profound yin qi. Looking at the long sword in Long Yunzhan's hand, the dragon shape was about to take shape. Yiqing Luo flew up and her fair slender palm clasped onto Long Yunzhan's hand which was holding the long sword. The bewitching red glow instantly blended with the blue light. Long Yunzhan's body started to stiffen. His raised arm could not be swung down. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to look at Si Minghan and said sternly, "Leave this place quickly. He's been controlled by a secret technique." Si Minghan was originally thinking of ways to form a barrier to block Long Yunzhan's attack. Suddenly, a red light flashed before his eyes. Immediately after, he heard the girl's unquestionable shout. Almost instinctively, Si Minghan's figure quickly disappeared into the forest. However, Long Yunzhan did not return to normal because of Si Minghan's disappearance. His body was still extremely tense. That handsome and aloof face was twisted in an extremely terrifying manner. At such a close distance, the strand of black mysterious yin qi under the azure eyes was extremely horrifying. Zhan. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, calling Long Yunzhan's name. Long Yunzhan's body stiffened again, his eyelashes trembling slightly. But the madness in his eyes was still unbridled. He began to struggle. Yiqing Luo's grip tightened. He forcefully used his dark force to suppress Long Yunzhan's pressure. The dragon-shaped light pattern around the long sword also gradually dimmed. Zhan, I know you can hear me. Yiqing Luo's voice was cold and filled with a penetrating feeling. You don't want to hurt me, don't want to hurt any one of us, then listen to me. Long Yunzhan was still struggling. Chapter 23:14. The blue long sword was gleaming wantonly. It was still struggling against Yiqing Luo's profound energy. Relax your body and mind, leave everything to me. Yiqing Luo's hand was trembling because of Long Yunzhan's struggle. Long Yunzhan's strength was huge. So huge that she couldn't hold Long Yunzhan's hand. Yiqing Luo was very clear. Once she let go of Long Yunzhan's hand, that long sword in Long Yunzhan's hand would become a killing weapon. She couldn't let Long Yunzhan do something that he regretted the last time. Otherwise it would happen again. Long Yunzhan's heart would definitely collapse. Scram, get lost. A hoarse voice came out from Long Yunzhan's throat. A strong vicious qi filled Yiqing Luo's body and mind. Yiqing Luo's hand trembled even more violently because of Long Yunzhan's struggle. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear to hurt Long Yunzhan, so she didn't dare to use her profound energy to suppress it. However, Long Yunzhan had totally lost his rationality. He didn't have the slightest bit of pity. The stronger the strength, the heavier the vicious qi. His azure blue eyes were slowly covered by a black mist. Yiqing Luo couldn't hold Long Yunzhan's hand anymore. Her breathing was slightly messed up. She was just about to take a deep breath, thinking of a way to knock Long Yunzhan out. Suddenly, an intense scorching feeling gushed out from her heart. As though a raging fire was burning in her heart. This scorching feeling made Yiqing Luo's hand loosen a little. Long Yunzhan took the opportunity to backhand and patted Yiqing Luo's shoulder, breaking free. Class monitor. Qing Luo. Devil classes students behind her hurriedly called out. Yiqing Luo staggered backwards a few steps as her slender brows creased as she looked at her painful shoulder. Following that, her gaze shifted towards Long Yunzhan, who was standing at the original spot with a vicious look in his eyes. This gaze made Yiqing Luo's heart feel scorching as it corroded her internal organs. Her gaze was fixed on Long Yunzhan's chest. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly contracted. She hadn't had the time to investigate in detail if she had seen wrongly. The next moment, Long Yunzhan's explosive roar resounded. Ah! The roars were endless. Profound light flickered and profound energy surged. Long Yunzhan's expression became extremely sinister. Then he swung his sword horizontally. A ray of blue-colored profound energy slashed open a piercingly cold profound mark in the air, like circles and circles of ripples. Yiqing Luo's attention had already been attracted by the direction of Long Yunzhan's heart. The more she wanted to investigate, the more she wanted to know. His profound jade heart emitted more and more scorching heat. It was as if her entire heart was placed on a raging fire, roasting it back and forth. There was no time to dodge. Long Yunzhan. Stop. From the direction of the devil class came a girl's cry. A tall and slender figure rushed over from afar. She rushed over to Long Yunjian, stretched out her arms, wrapped them around his waist and buried her face in his chest. Long Yunjian, wake up. I beg you, wake up. The woman wept softly, her voice filled with helplessness and longing. This kind of you, I'm afraid. I don't like this kind of you. Long Yunjian, change back. Change back, all right? The surrounding vicious qi and the rumbling profound qi at this moment returned to tranquility. The frenzied man froze on the spot. He allowed the lady in his arms to hug him, crying out his name. Chapter 23:15. However, when the woman raised her head, what she saw was a pair of eyes filled with black qi. The lady's pupils constricted as she couldn't help but let out a shrill scream. Ziqing, be careful. Yiqing Luo noticed Long Yunjian's change and immediately opened her mouth, wanting to pull Tong Ziqing back. The current Long Yunjian was an unstable factor. He had no rationality. Even if it was Tong Ziqing, he wouldn't remember. Tong Ziqing couldn't take one attack from Long Yunjian. But just as she was about to charge over, Long Yunjian's profound energy, which had been stabilized for some time, started to roll over like waves of ripples. Bam! A heaven-shattering loud sound was heard. The profound qi struck the side of Yiqing Luo's feet, blocking her path. Long Yunjian raised one hand as his 5 fingers locked onto the lady's shoulder. His slender fingers dived into the lady's skin one by one. Under the whistling strong wind, one could clearly hear the sound of bones breaking from Tong Ziqing's side. But Tong Ziqing had no intention to leave. She hugged Long Yunjian tightly as the intense pain from her bones breaking only made her complexion paler by a few shades. Her teary eyes looked foolishly at Long Yunjian's face, which was just inches away from her. Her lips curled slightly as her voice trembled slightly. Long Yunjian, I said this before. No matter how you reject me, push me away, I will pester you. Until I die, I will pester you. Get lost. The hoarse voice was filled with rage. Long Yunjian's 5 fingers exerted even more strength. Tong Ziqing was in so much pain that she broke out in cold sweat, but she refused to let go of Long Yunjian. Ziqing, move aside first, perhaps I know. Yiqing Luo was just about to say that she might have seen through the reason why Long Yunjian became like this. Suddenly, Long Yunjian, who heard her voice, turned his gaze towards her without blinking. That pupils which were filled with profound yin qi were emitting a strange and charming aura. He raised his other sword-wielding hand, and the blue profound light suddenly turned into a huge blue flying dragon. Setting off a raging wave, it slashed towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Long Yunjian, wake up. If you hurt her, you will regret it for life. Tong Ziqing's heart almost stopped beating when she saw Long Yunjian's actions. Last time, Long Yunjian was controlled by the dark forces and almost hurt Yiqing Luo. Later Yin Xiaoyi helped Yiqing Luo to block that move. However, it was enough to make Long Yunjian feel so guilty that he almost wanted to give up and hide from them. If Long Yunjian, Long Yunjian. Without thinking Yiqing of Long, Tong Ziqing didn't even think as she gathered a burst of profound energy in her palm and held onto Long Yunjian's wrist. How of her strength could be compared to Yun Long? In the next instant, her hand was pulled away. In a moment of desperation, Tong Ziqing grabbed Long Yunjian's longsword with one hand. Yun Long of Yun? Long Yunjian's violent attacks seemed to have been paused as he was stunned on the spot. Luo of Dong Long. Qing. Yun Zt. To say I. Of. Her beautiful eyes stared at Long Yunjian as her heart trembled. Long Yunjian, don't go on like this. Turn back into the Long Yunjian that I like, okay? Yun eyes. Long Yunjian's hand, which was holding the sword. Warm blood covered Long Yunjian's hand. Long Yunjian seemed to have sensed something. He turned his head stiffly and looked at his hand, which was stained with blood. He looked at Tong Ziqing, who was still holding the sword tightly, as though she wasn't afraid that the sharp blade would cut off her fingers. Chapter 23:16. Tong Ziqing furrowed her brows and threw her sword to the side in pain. The black energy in Long Yunjian's eyes was still sweeping wildly. He stared blankly at Tong Ziqing's blood-soaked palm. He stared blankly at his blood-soaked hands. Little by little, his face became distorted. Long Yunjian. Long Yunjian? Tong Ziqing sensed Long Yunjian's abnormality and anxiously called out his name. However, Long Yunjian suddenly raised his hand and pushed her away forcefully. Tong Ziqing was dizzy from losing too much blood, and her physical strength could no longer hold on. With such a push, his whole body swayed and fell to the ground. She couldn't care less about the pain. She wanted to get up and return to Long Yunjian's side. Long Yunjian hugged his head and screamed in pain, "Ah! Ah!" The screams were filled with immense pain, as if they were experiencing great torture. Long Yunjian. Hearing the screams, Tong Ziqing was on the verge of tears. Long Yunjian was in pain, but her heart was in even more pain. She stood up with great difficulty, and a wave of dizziness made her vision blurry. She stumbled towards Long Yunjian. "Don't come over." Long Yunjian's hoarse voice suddenly rose. "Leave me? I don't know what I'll do. Let's go. Hurry up and leave." Tong Ziqing stopped in her tracks. She tightened her grip. His palm, which had been cut by the blade, felt a stinging pain. Her consciousness cleared up a little. She moved her lips and her throat was a little dry. "Long Yunjian, I won't leave you, never. Go." Long Yunjian roared, causing his head to feel a strong piercing pain again. He let out another painful scream, clutched his head and fell to the ground. Long Yunjian. Tong Ziqing's throat tightened. She took a deep breath and steadied her consciousness. She tried her best to move closer to Long Yunjian. Behind her, Yiqing Luo's cold voice was heard. "Ziqing, don't go over." Tong Ziqing was taken aback. There was a trace of bitterness in her beautiful eyes. "Qing Luo. Save him. Only you can save him." Tong Ziqing finally gave up and walked up as she spoke in a hoarse voice, begging Yiqing Luo. "It's not me. It's you." Yiqing Luo shook her head as she looked at Tong Ziqing's eyes, which were filled with pain, as she sighed softly. "It's you who awakened him. If you were to get any closer, I'm afraid it would agitate." Before he could finish, a dong sound was heard. Tong Ziqing subconsciously turned her head and looked behind her. Long Yunjian fell to the ground with his eyes closed. Even though he had fainted, his brows were still tightly knitted together. Long Yunjian. Tong Ziqing's heart skipped a beat. She raised her foot and rushed towards Long Yunjian. A strong dizziness drained all the strength from her body. In the next instant, Tong Ziqing's vision went black and she collapsed. Tong Ziqing only woke up the next morning. As soon as she woke up, she looked around and shouted Long Yunjian's name nervously. Hearing the commotion, Yiqing Luo pushed the door and entered. "Qing Luo, class monitor he. How is he?" Tong Ziqing looked at Yiqing Luo worriedly. "He's fine. Ghost Doctor and the three masters are taking care of him." Yiqing Luo walked to the bedside and bent down to lift Tong Ziqing's bandaged hand. "You're really daring. If Ajan really couldn't control himself and cut off your finger, when Ajan regains consciousness, how guilty would he feel?" Chapter 23:17. Yiqing Luo let go of her hand and frowned slightly. "Do you think he won't feel guilty for doing this? Won't he regret it for the rest of his life?" "In his heart, I'm not as important as you." Tong Ziqing's lashes were wet. "It's better for me to get hurt than you." Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. "In that case, you blocked the sword with your bare hands because you feel that I'm more important than you in Ajan's heart?" "No." Tong Ziqing immediately raised her head as her face was filled with panic. "I don't mean it in that way, Qing Luo. It's not just for class monitor. I don't want you to get hurt." She stuttered as she explained. The lady who wasn't good with words, usually cold and elegant, had already removed her mask at this moment. Yiqing Luo looked at her and her heart softened a little. "Ziqing, no matter if it's Ajan or you, you're both my most important brothers. If any one of you gets hurt because of me, I will regret it." She paused as she stretched out her hand and placed it on Tong Ziqing's head. Her voice became gentler. "In future, don't do such silly things again." Tong Ziqing's beautiful eyes widened as she looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze for some time before she slowly nodded her head. "And I know. Now tell me the reason why Ajan and Si Minghan fought." Yiqing Luo sat beside Tong Ziqing as she sat on the bed. Asking about this matter, Tong Ziqing's cheeks suddenly flushed red. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "Could it be because of love?" "No, it's not." Tong Ziqing immediately denied as her beautiful eyes fluttered unnaturally. "Class monitor, why would he?" "Because of me. Ajan's situation is slightly complicated. You have to tell me the details of their fight so that I can analyze how exactly he was implanted with the profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo rubbed Tong Ziqing's head. In terms of age, Tong Ziqing was actually older than her by a year. But Yiqing Luo's mental age was too old. Yiqing Luo's consolation also made Tong Ziqing's restless heart gradually calm down after she heard about Long Yunzhan's complicated condition. Wanted to be alone. So I went to the actual combat training forest. Previously at the training ground, Yiqing Luo's words made it hard for her to calm down. She had always been wondering if loving Long Yunzhan so stubbornly was the right choice. Later on, Si Minghan caught up. She, who had loved Si Minghan deeply, could naturally see his feelings for her. At least for now, Si Minghan really liked her. However, her heart had fallen onto Long Yunzhan and could not be retrieved. She trapped herself in Long Yunzhan's cage and was unwilling to come out. But Si Minghan said that he was willing to wait. He and she were the same kind of people. They all had their own stubbornness. For Long Yunzhan, Tong Ziqing had loved him for so many years, waited for so many years and guarded him for so many years. Si Minghan had loved Tong Ziqing for so many years, waited for so many years and guarded her for so many years. It was undeniable that her heart had been shaken by Si Minghan's words at that time. They had been in love for too long. They had been one-sided for too long. Tong Ziqing had almost forgotten, what does it feel like to be loved? Si Minghan could give her the feeling of being loved. Si Minghan could love her like how she loved Long Yunzhan. Chapter 23:18. Such a thought flashed through her mind. Tong Ziqing quickly put it out of her mind. Because she wanted to be loved, she chose someone who loved her. Perhaps this was the best choice for many women. However, her obsession with Long Yunzhan was so deep that it could not be cut. She had Long Yunzhan in her heart. What right did she have to be loved by Si Minghan? She was not happy in love. Why did she have to ruin Si Minghan's life? Just as she was about to refuse, Long Yunzhan came. The first time she saw Long Yunzhan, Tong Ziqing was happy. Long Yunzhan chased after her, which meant that he was worried about her and that she was in his heart. However, Long Yunzhan's eyes slowly moved away when he saw Si Minghan holding her hand. He said, "I'm sorry to disturb you." After that, he turned around and left. Tong Ziqing was stunned on the spot. His heart was filled with joy, but it was as if the water of December had been poured over him. Si Minghan held her hand tightly and swore loudly, "Ziqing, if you are willing to give me a chance, give us a chance, I will definitely make you the happiest woman." Tong Ziqing was stunned. She could hear Si Minghan's words. She could also hear the footsteps that stopped behind her. The words of refusal stopped at the tip of her tongue. She wanted to know how Long Yunzhan would react. She wanted to know if Long Yunzhan would be a little jealous. As long as, just a little, she would be like a moth flying into a flame without hesitation. However, the person behind her only paused for a moment. Then he walked away again. He didn't even say a word or make a sound. It was as if she would be with another man. It had nothing to do with him. Her heart sank little by little. Perhaps the pain that Long Yunzhan gave her was unbearable. Or Si Minghan's smile was too bright. Tong Ziqing raised her head and looked at Si Minghan. She said word by word, "Okay. I agree to give you a chance." Si Minghan's eyes suddenly lit up. He was ecstatic and wanted to hug Tong Ziqing. Bang! A fist came crashing down. Si Minghan was caught off guard and was sent flying. Long Yunzhan stood majestically in front of Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing stared blankly at the tall figure in front of her, and her eyes reddened. She carefully placed her hand on Long Yunzhan's back and was about to speak. Long Yunzhan's arm pushed backwards. He did not look back. His hand was stuck on her neck. It was an emotionless push. Scram! Long Yunzhan's cold and furious roar echoed in his ears. Tong Ziqing's eyes widened in disbelief as her body swayed and fell to the ground. Long Yunzhan had already taken out his long sword and attacked Si Minghan. Then it was a battle of life and death until now. After listening to Tong Ziqing's recollection of the scenario, Yiqing Luo's brows creased into a bundle. "Didn't you agree to Si Minghan's request because you heard that he had left? Why did Zhan appear before you the next instant?" "Are you sure his footsteps are leaving or walking towards you?" Yiqing Luo asked solemnly. Tong Ziqing blinked her eyes blankly. "I don't know. When he didn't respond, my mind went blank. Chapter 23:19. What problem? Tong Ziqing's heart tightened as she pursed her pale lips, her eyes filled with worry. Qing Luo, what happened to class monitor? Why is his condition so complicated? Qing Luo's expression changed slightly. She was silent for a moment. She narrowed her eyes and stared at Tong Ziqing for a long while. In the end, he decided not to hide it from Tong Ziqing. In the training forest, you used your own blood to awaken Ajan's consciousness. He didn't want to hurt you, so he fought against the power that was forcing him to do so. As a result, he suffered a backlash and fell unconscious. Qing Luo summarized Long Yunzhan's situation in a concise and comprehensive manner. Tong Ziqing's eyes widened in shock. After a long while, she hurriedly pushed away the quilt and said, "I'm going to see him. Master Ghost Doctor and the headmaster are taking care of him. Take care of yourself first." Qing Luo hurriedly supported Tong Ziqing, who had almost fallen onto the ground, as she forcefully pressed her back onto the bed. "Don't think too much, Ajan's willpower is very strong. It's just a backlash and it hasn't hurt his consciousness or soul, so he will wake up very soon." But Tong Ziqing still wanted to say something. He was interrupted by Qing Luo again. "No buts, don't tell me you wish for Ajan to wake up to see you lying on the bed riddled with injuries because of him?" "No." Tong Ziqing immediately shook her head. The last time Long Yunzhan had hurt Yan Xiaoyi and was almost unable to walk out from his sins. Long Yunzhan knew that he had once again hurt her because of his manipulation. Long Yunzhan would definitely not be able to forgive himself. Especially since this was the second time she had been injured because of him. Long Yunzhan will definitely collapse. In the end, Tong Ziqing obediently lay back on the bed. "Ziqing, have more confidence in yourself. Ajan, it's not that he doesn't like you. It's just that he doesn't know what it means to like someone." Seeing Tong Ziqing's wholehearted concern for Long Yunzhan couldn't help but sigh. Qing Luo couldn't help but sigh. She didn't know how Long Yunzhan was able to have such a beautiful, considerate and kind girl adore him. Long Yunzhan didn't know how to cherish it. A human dragon was a human dragon. Although half of his blood was human. However, it was still a dragon. She could not understand the feelings of dragons. However, as long as someone was willing to teach him, given Long Yunzhan's intelligence, he would definitely learn it very quickly. Qing Luo smiled as she looked at Tong Ziqing, and couldn't help but rub her head. "Work hard, teach him what is love." Tong Ziqing's throat was a little dry. How could Long Yunzhan not know what it meant to like someone? Long Yunzhan clearly understood. It was just that the person he loved wasn't her. Qing Luo had already stood up as she smiled. "Have a good rest, I'll go over to Ajan's side to take a look at the situation. Once there's any good news, I'll come over to tell you immediately." Then she pointed to the room next door. "It's right next door." Tong Ziqing opened her mouth, but before she could say anything, Qing Luo had already walked out of the room. She lowered her eyes and looked at her bandaged palm. There was a bitter expression on her face. After walking out of the room next door was extremely quiet. Qing Luo pushed the door open and entered. Only Mo Ying stood beside the bed in a daze, her eyes lifeless. Hearing the noise, she turned her head stiffly. "Where's Master Ghost Doctor?" Qing Luo inquired softly. "Going to the pill refining room to discuss about class monitor's situation." Mo Ying replied in a flat tone. Qing Luo nodded her head as she took a look at Long Yunzhan, who was lying on the bed with his brows knitted tightly, as though he was in extreme pain. She suddenly thought of something as she said to Mo Ying, "Go and have a rest first, I'll keep watch here." Start out your tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.